Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Okie dokie. We got approval of the county board minutes.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Mr. Mauer, second by Dwayne Johnson. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There are no changes.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Second by Mike Wilson. Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing fee schedule. Deb, would you like to
Yes,
speak
I
on that
would.
on our behalf?
Mr. Chair, we have a public hearing that we're going to conduct regarding our fee schedule. It's required by statute if we modify the fee schedule that is approved at the outset, at the beginning of the year, we need to have a public hearing. We have previously talked about the fees. They've been advertised. The major changes, just to give you kind of a synopsis, are with our planning and zoning fees. We talked about some of the process in the after the fact with those, and then we also have the fees for the sheriff's office. There were a couple of changes regarding their dispatch rates, the sheriff's sales fees. No, actually, it was the renewal gun fee that was changed. It was lowered. And a few others. And then the correction fees. As you know, in July, we have corrections, community corrections coming on board after the dissolution of the joint powers coming on board, and they have a fee schedule. And none of those have changed from the current fee schedule that exists. So that's what was advertised and what the public hearings were.
Okay, and I'll be open up to this public at this time. I will call out 3 times. If there's any one that wants to speak for or against at this time. Second time, anyone want to speak for or against? And the third and final time, anyone want to speak for or against on the county fee schedule? At this time, I will close the public hearing. Gentlemen, I need a motion and a second, please.
Mr. Chair, if I could just go on record, there were no written correspondence that were
Oh, okay.
submitted.
I'm sorry. Yep.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Mauer. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Dwayne Johnson, or by Mike Wilson. Any discussion, gentlemen? If not, I'll just mention something. We did go over, this is something like that was just not brought to our attention. We had a big discussion at the planning session, so therefore we looked at all these fees, and this is what was recommended. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Proclamation.
Mr. Chair, the distracted
Driving,
driving
yes.
proclamation. If we could have
Come
the-
on up, please.
If you could all announce who you are and who you're representing, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Benny, and I am a member of the Target organization as well as Improv.
Sheila Funk from Little Falls School District. I coordinate the Target group.
Rachel Buckaloo, also from the Little Falls Community High School District, here representing Target and Improv.
Emily Sentum, Morrison County Public Health. I run the TZD Coalition here.
And Jason Worley, Chief Deputy, Morrison County Sheriff's Office.
Mr. Chair, if I may, TZD.
Towards Zero Deaths.
Very good, thank you. Appreciate it.
And we have a spokesman or spokeswoman.
So, Distraction-Free Driving Month. A proclamation by the Morrison County Safe Roads Coalition in partnership with Morrison County's Sheriff's Department and Little Falls Target students.
Whereas the safety and security of the citizens of Morrison County and surrounding areas are vitally important, and
A large percentage of our citizens regularly drive or ride in motor vehicles on our roadways, and
distracted driving occurs when drivers divert their attention away from the task of driving to focus on another activity instead, and
distracted driving can result in injuries and deaths to motorists, pedestrians, and bicyclists, and
The health and safety and well-being of our citizens are a direct result of increased awareness about the dangers of distracted driving and
According to the Office of Traffic Safety, each year in Minnesota, distracted or inattentive driving is a factor in 1 in 4 crashes, resulting in at least 70 deaths and 350 serious injuries, and
the Morrison County Safe Roads Coalition supports the efforts that help raise awareness of the dangers of distracted driving, particularly amongst teenagers, in order to both reduce the number of distracted driving crashes and better educate drivers and
text messaging, emailing, or accessing the web on a wireless device while driving, including while stopped in traffic, became illegal on Minnesota roads effective August 1st, 2008, and
Morrison County law enforcement will be participating in increased enforcement all month to reduce the risk of injury and death caused in traffic causes related to distracted or innovative driving, and
Distracted driving is a serious, life-threatening practice that is preventable, and
in order to reduce the number of crashes as well as improve driver safety, motorists should dictate themselves to adopting and maintaining safe behavior while behind the wheel, and
one of the most effective means of encouraging safer and smarter behavior by motorists involves convincing drivers of the need to devote their full attention and energy to driving by avoiding distractions such as cell phones, texting, eating, drinking, adjusting vehicle and music controls, and reaching for items, and
whereas in order to reduce the number of crashes as well as improve driver safety, Morrison County motorists should dedicate themselves to adopting and maintaining safe behavior while behind the wheel. Now therefore be it resolved that we,
the Board of Morrison County Commissions of the great state of Minnesota, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2016 Distraction-Free Driving Month in Morrison County, and we call this observance to the attention of all of our citizens.
I would so move on that, Mr. Chair, because I know it is a problem.
Okay, I have a motion by Dwayne Johnson, second by Mauer. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, having worked with young people for many years, I just want to compliment and thank the two of you for all that you do. I've watched your improv at least 3 times now. The messages that you send to young people is so important, and I compliment you for your involvement. To take that risk and to become involved is so important. Us as adults, elderly adults, speaking from myself. Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, speaking for myself, don't have the impact on your generation like you yourself do. So the example you set will have many benefits in the future. So thank you so much for your involvement.
Any more discussion? Mr. Jelinski?
Mr. Chair, I have to speak virtually with what Commissioner Mauer just got done saying, because during the two of you, as you presented this distracted driving item to the board, the thing that came into my mind was, you know what, adults aren't speaking here. And it really kind of made me think just for a second, or 3 or 4, it's not adults speaking. It's high school kids that, in fact, are part of the improv group, that truly this message is not just for me. It's not just for our audience. It is not just for adults. It is for you. And I truly appreciate that more than you can ever imagine. And I would also like to just go on record as saying, and I've talked to Sheila about this before, I want to see the improv group come to the board meeting. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for all you do.
I'd just like to thank you for bringing the awareness to everybody, and it's not young people, it's everybody that's distracted drivers, no matter if you're eating, phone calls, everything, so thanks for bringing the awareness to people.
Myself, again, the young people that are ones that are probably educating us elderly, because the texting and that's becoming so prevalent nowadays that it's very important that you're distracted when these phones are going off. I don't care if you're a passenger or you're a driver. It's just becoming a big issue nowadays, and I like what you guys doing and making them aware of that. So appreciate it. Any more discussion? If not, I have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, I think we'll take a photo with this group quick before we get on to the next.
Photo time.
Photo time.
We don't want to keep them out of school.
All right.
I'm sure they want to get back.
Of course they do.
fancy ones here. All right.
I have no idea, but I'm not complaining.
Huh. All right, I think we got it. Everybody's face is good. Ready? Thank you, Sean. Did you get what you needed?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Where's Granny? There he is.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
All right.
Proclamation, mental health. Come on up, come on down. The more the merrier.
Just introduce themselves. Hey, you too. Here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Penny Pesta, the Adult Social Services Supervisor.
I'm Carrie Zek. I'm the chairperson of the Morrison County Local Advisory Council.
I'm Karen Liddell, co-chair of the LAC.
Pam Allard, member of the LAC.
Margaret House, deputy chair. Artis Borsch, member of the LAC.
Carla Nornberg, mental health professional with Morrison County.
Samantha Keevel, I am with Solutions Behavioral Healthcare Professionals.
Okay, I guess I get to read this. Proclamation, Mental Health Awareness Month, May 2016. Whereas mental illnesses are medical conditions that disrupt a person's thinking, feeling, mood, ability to relate to others, and daily functioning. Just as diabetes is a disorder of the pancreas, mental illnesses are medical conditions that often result in a diminished capacity for coping with the ordinary demands of life. And whereas mental illnesses can affect persons of any age, race, religion, or income, mental illnesses are not the result of personal weakness, lack of character, or poor upbringing. And whereas, without treatment, the consequences of mental illness for the individual and society are staggering. Unemployment, substance abuse, homelessness, inappropriate incarceration, or suicide. And whereas stigma erodes confidence that mental disorders are real, treatable health conditions. We have allowed stigma and now an unwarranted sense of hopelessness to erect attitudinal, structural, and financial barriers to effective treatment and recovery. And whereas early identification and treatment is of vital importance. By ensuring access to the treatment and recovery supports that are proven effective, recovery is accelerated and the further harm related to the course of illness is minimized. And whereas mental illnesses are treatable with appropriate effective medication and a wide range of services tailored to their needs, most people who live with serious mental illnesses can significantly reduce the impact of their illness and find a satisfying measure of achievement and independence. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of Morrison County, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2016 to be Mental Health Awareness Month in Morrison County and urge all citizens to work together to break the stigma of mental illness and provide our support to those suffering and recovering from mental illness.
So moved.
I have a motion
Second.
by Commissioner Mauer, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Any more discussion, gentlemen?
Mr. Chair, I would just like to thank everyone for everyone's involvement in this. This is something that I don't know that we have any control over. It's a disease, it's what it is, and we don't get to pick this. So for those that are involved in this, I thank you very much for that. It's extremely important, and thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to thank you too for all the work everybody does. It takes a lot of commitment to make everything work, so thank you.
Thank you again.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Moore.
And having worked as a chemical dependency counselor for these many years, a lot of the clients that I deal with have both mental health issues and chemical issues. You know, we're all good people, and any of us can have issues with depression and/or anxiety-related causes. So, I mean, any of us, I don't know if anyone says they've never been depressed, I would tend to not to agree with that. We all have struggles in our life at times that create issues, so it's important that we have your services and you available to address those as they come up, because many times it's just a thing we need to get through and move on, or it may be something that's lasting. So, thank you so much for all you do. I appreciate it.
And myself too, again, it just keeping the public informed that there is, you know, a disease such as this out there, and I think it's great what you do. Any more discussion? If not, I have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Right, is the
Photo
entire
time.
group staying, or should we take the photo now, or?
Take the
I
photo
don't-
now.
Okay, all right,
All
we'll
right.
do that, thank you. Got one hard copy. Here, Randy, you want to say something? That would be great, thank you.
All snuck in together here. There's plenty of room here. Come.
Thank you, Randy. Maybe they can hold that.
Get someone here to
Maybe,
hold this
yeah.
here? There we go.
That'd be great, thanks. Oh, Penny, are you trying to
I'm
hide?
not trying to hide. Don't hide.
Ready? Perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Don't keep pushing.
Yeah. It's going right on the board. There it goes.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. Very good.
Okay, social service report.
Good morning. I'm just going to give a quick introduction, then I'm going to move. We have a few people here that are going to present a local advisory council goals and objectives for 2016. The local advisory council is required by statute to assist our agency in determining mental health services, gaps. So we have both a regional mental health local advisory council as well as a county local advisory council. So with that, I'm going to call up, I'm not sure how many people are here to present, but I'm going to abdicate this chair to Penny and Carla and whoever else is going to present, if they can come forward.
All right.
I don't know how many chairs we need.
We need more?
Okay, just two of them, so we'll just leave it to Penny and.
Okay. Are these on?
Yes.
Because I'm pretty loud. Okay, again, I'm Carrie Zeck, and I am the chairperson of the local advisory council, and these are the 2016 goals and objectives. Goal number 1 is education. The Morrison County LAC will support the Mental Health Association of Minnesota in bringing the Wellness Recovery Action Plan to Morrison County. Oak Ridge Woodview Adult Rehabilitation Mental Health Service will provide a monthly support group to the community at the Morrison County Drop-In Center. The Morrison County LAC will look into bringing a mental health first aid class to the county, which will educate the community on warning signs of suicide to help save lives. The Morrison County LAC will ask Emotions Anonymous to come into the Morrison County Drop-In Center. The Morrison County LAC will invite Albert Garcia to speak on supporting others with schizophrenia. Goal number 2 is housing. The Morrison County LAC on mental health invites representatives from local area housing programs to attend and/or send reports to the LAC for discussion. Lutheran Social Service Hope Housing is present on the Morrison County Local Advisory Council. We will be following up with LSS Hope Housing to see if any changes have been made and how we can assist them. The Morrison County LAC will discuss housing as one of its primary identified unmet needs of people living with mental health issues. Morrison County LAC will provide outreach, advocacy, and education to local landlords, HRA, Central Minnesota Cornerstone, and Marvin Hoheisel to promote community partnership and further local resources in our community. Goal number 3, crisis intervention services. The Morrison County Local Advisory Council works with the Crisis Line and Referral Service to help connect consumers and family members in crisis with appropriate resources in Morrison County. The Morrison County LAC will follow the changes that are being made to our crisis bed services and will offer input based off the needs for Morrison County. Morrison County LAC will work with PATH, the Project for Assistance to Transition for Homelessness, which assists in finding housing. Goal number 4, family and peer support. The Morrison County LAC is working to serve as a county advocacy group for people with a psychiatric diagnosis. Family and peer support is available via representation by consumers and family members who volunteer on the council. We are working with the Morrison County Drop-In Center to help the community, individuals, and families experiencing mental health issues. Goal number 5, collaboration with other local advisory councils. The Mental Health Local Advisory Council collaborates with the Regional Mental Health Advisory Council on a quarterly basis. At least 2 Morrison County LAC council members will attend quarterly regional LAC meetings throughout 2016. They will report to the regional LAC what activities the Morrison County LAC is involved with and topics of discussion, They will return and report to the Morrison County LAC what's discussed at the regional meetings. The Morrison County LAC will also attend mental health initiative meetings quarterly. This is our mission statement: to provide mental health education, support, and awareness of available resources to the residents of Morrison County.
Any discussion, gentlemen? Any questions?
Just thank you very much for all you do.
Yeah, I thought there was gonna be more people at the table, so I didn't sit up here, but apparently they all wanna sit in the back row today. But most of these folks that were here are members of the local advisory council, and they meet generally monthly. And so again, they're an important function of what we do as an organization, and thanks to Carla and Penny to help organize the LAC and all the members, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very, very kindly.
Thank you.
And that's all I have.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Brad, thank
Thank you, Brad.
Sheriff's report.
Oh my God. Never mind, you're right. Sorry, Mr. Schiff.
Morning, everyone.
Jumping in.
Sheriff Larson, good morning.
Good morning. So we have the March monthly report in front of us, and I'll just kind of highlight some of the things that I think need to be pointed out. First of all, you're going to see that our total number of complaints went up. It's 1,044. Months past, it hasn't been that high, and we'll talk about it. It's, I think it's going to be in our last page, and that has to deal with our permit to purchase and to carry. Our criminal complaints were 110. We had 77 cases cleared. Our training, we had 17 officers from different agencies attend armor training. So what that is we actually hosted the course where we had a vendor come in, a training agency, and they trained our personnel as well as other agencies how to break down weapons, how to put them back together. And that's if we have problems in the field where we need something fixed, we don't have to pay someone else. Our guys can do it themselves as long as they have the specialized training. We did some drug awareness presentations. We did one at Little Falls Community High School. We talked about heroin and prescription drug abuse. You can see we also did one in March at Piers for the faculty. And we also did another one 2 days later at Piers Healy High School. We talked about heroin and prescription drugs, and there was about 400 people in attendance for that. You'll notice our criminal complaints, basically we had 110. And just to highlight some of the most frequent ones that we've been dealing with, we had 22 property damage complaints. we had 11 thefts, and then we had 14 fraud/scams. So as it was tax season, you can imagine we had all these IRS scams, and it seems like the scams are never going to go away. So for us as law enforcement, we do our best to either do news releases or make a public service announcement, but really just educate the people what's going on. And if there's a new scam and we see a sequence of it, we try and make sure that the public's advised of that as well.
Well, Mr. Chair, and a question on that, Sean. So when there's a scam, it's usually something on the phone by phone, or it's usually someone.
It can be a variety of things. It could be email. It could be Craigslist. So online. It could be sometimes mailings. You receive mail stating that you won a prize, but yet you have to pay so much money before you get that prize. So there's a lot of things, and what we always tell people is if it sounds too good to be true and these people want your personal information, don't give it out. And if they have any questions, they can call back this business and check into the source or call law enforcement. But our recommendation is if it's a phone call especially, just hang up immediately.
Well, that being said, do any of these scams ever result in following it down to its origin and having them charged?
A lot of these scams occur overseas. And even if you were to track down the suspect, now we have to talk about whether or not it's going to pay to bring the person back. Okay, and now you got a considerable expense. That being said, we do look into it. We do turn cases over to the FBI if they go international. But I'm going to talk about a recent case that we were involved in where somebody was asked to basically send money to an address, and that they were going to get a prize for this. They were going to get something back, and they did. They forwarded some money to an address down in Texas. What we did, once it got called in as a scam, is we said, you know what, we'll look into it, we'll pass this on to Texas authorities, we'll see what we can do. And lo and behold, they found the package, and now we actually had, I think there was 3 or 4 people that lived at the residence, but they do have a suspect in custody. So it does pay to call this in if you've been scammed, and let us do what we can for investigative purposes.
All right, thank you.
If we go to the traffic citations, you can see there's 140 traffic citations. I'll just highlight the speed. That's going to be our 17% in the dark blue. And then we gave 101 verbal warnings, and that's going to be the purple shade, 71%. As far as our inmates in the jail goes, you can see, I'll just go through the averages. Morrison County, in the month of March, we averaged 51 inmates. That's just Morrison County ourselves, our inmates. Becker County, we averaged a little over 5. Cass County, we averaged over 14. And the average population during the entire month was 71. Any questions on that? And then just to highlight our out-of-county inmates, number of inmates held for other counties was 38, and the revenue collected from boarding out-of-county inmates was $32,550. Okay, let's see what's up first. Can we go to the second screen and do the 2-year comparison? So looking back at March 2015 and current March 2016, as stated earlier, you can see our number of total complaints did go up. Our criminal complaints went up. Our non-criminal complaints went up, as well as a little bit with civil process and then just a handful of drug investigations. You'll see our total amount of inmates went from 161 to 197. The big thing is the permit to carry. If you look at the permit to carry and permit to purchase, we threw this slide in just to show why some of our ICRs or incident crime reports did go up. And it's because our permits to carry went from 18 last year to 181. Now we can all question and wonder why this is. My only thing would be, we have a presidential election going on, and anytime we talk about Second Amendment rights, sometimes there's an urge to, if they foresee something coming, maybe they want to rush and make sure they got their weapons. So anyway, that went up 163, the permit to carry, and our permit to purchase went from 34 in 2015 in March to current March 2016, 108, so that went up 74.
And Mr. Chair, is there a cost to that?
For the permit to purchase, there is not. For the permit to carry, there is.
Okay.
So we are already exceeding our, the revenue that we expected for this year.
Sean, could you explain the permit to purchase, please?
Sure. Any time that someone from Morrison County wants a weapon, wants to go purchase a rifle, a pistol, they have to fill out the proper paperwork, and then we have to run a background check to make sure that they have no crimes of violence, felonies of violence, crimes of violence. And then we also have to check and make sure that they were not basically determined that they were not mentally ill at some point, that they were housed somewhere. And once that comes back clear, and we check our in-house records as well, then we issue a permit to carry, or a permit to purchase, I'm sorry. And then what they do is they go to, whether it's shooting sports or any other gun store, they have to show this permit, and then they still do their own thing on their end, so.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, that permit allows you to buy, you need that permit to purchase for, you said pistols and rifles? Do you need it for .22s and shotguns and any kind of gun?
Correct, and sometimes 22 long guns. Some stores sell it. Some, they do the safety check just to ensure that you're okay. Here locally, I know that they require the permit to purchase.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
The question I have on that is the permit to purchase, you have a lot of public auctions, private auctions. You do need still, like if you go to an auction and have guns out there, do you need that permit to purchase? Because I know that's kind of been a gray area maybe, yes, no?
I'm gonna defer that to my chief deputy because he takes care of that.
In order to get a handgun or an assault rifle, an assault style rifle, you need that permit to purchase.
How about if there's a rifle or shotgun there, just a regular deer rifle?
No. It's just for the handguns and the pretty art style rifles.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, Sheriff, you said that there's a couple of businesses, be them who they may be,
Yep.
that require a permit to purchase for a long gun. Could very well be true. I'm not trying to put you on the spot or nothing, but if I'm a business, I can require whatever I want to before I'm going to sell you anything. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. But as far as state law is concerned, and please, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, a handgun, an assault-style rifle, if you will, need the permit to purchase.
Yes.
But all the other stuff, as far as a .22 rifle, if you will, such as Commissioner Mauer suggested, if a local store wants to put that as a caveat, that they need to see that permit to purchase, that's so be it. But state law does not require that, is that correct?
For the .22 long gun, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can go to Fleet Farm
Yep.
and purchase it.
Yep.
But yes, under an individual store that's selling weapons, they can require it.
Yep, very good.
Well, Mr. Chair, I don't know if your question was answered though. I mean, you asked a question that like if it's a gun show or an auction, a private auction, if you can in fact purchase guns, even a pistol without a permit, do you have to, I mean, can they sell their guns? If I'm having an auction with all my guns, can I sell all my guns without requiring a permit of those that buy it?
No.
Okay.
I mean, a federal, FFL dealer's gonna sell it.
Right,
Oh, okay.
but you don't, if I want to go to, let's say, an auction, or even a private sale, I don't need a permit to purchase. If I want to go buy one from Commissioner Mauer at his house, a pistol, that's where the.
Right.
Well, and that's kind of on you then if you're selling him a gun.
Right, that's the controversy comes in, yes.
Yeah, right now it's legal to sell from citizen to citizen.
Right, okay.
However, you might want to document the date.
Exactly.
You might want to document the make, model, serial number, and you might want a hand signature that there was a transfer that occurred, because without a paper trail, who knows what kind of mess you could get.
That's what my point is, because you as a seller, as a private seller, you could become liable because you sold it to John Doe.
Right.
Thank you.
And that's about all I have, unless there's any questions for me.
Mr. Chair, or excuse me, Mr. Chair and Sheriff, again, I do not mean to put you on the spot, but I did notice in your report,
Yep.
under STS, and I forgot what it said, it doesn't matter. My question on STS is, I wonder if you can give me or the board a little bit of what's happening with STS.
Well, I just talked to them this morning.
Excellent.
They're heading out to Camp Shamana,
Okay.
and they're gonna be cutting some wood for Camp Shamana. They're active. They helped out with the Upsala Ballpark for a while. They're kind of bouncing all over. We do have inmates that are minimum security, classified as minimum security from Cass County that have been helping out as well, so we can get out and about. They've been still assisting with Cushing Township as well. And I think they were out in Piers not too long ago, but honestly, I don't remember what they were doing out there, so.
Well, and I guess where I'm going with that is the program, STS, Sentence to Serve, if you will, sponsored by the county.
Yep.
And we're bringing inmates to locations, and they're doing good things, is what I'm trying to say.
They are. It's one of the most positive programs we have here in Morrison County.
Yeah.
All the work they do is basically lending a hand to cut down costs. And when you have nonprofit organizations that can benefit from this, we're more than happy to send out our crews and assist. So it's a good thing. It seems like whatever they do, we always get a thank you letter or a thank you call, so very positive.
And thank you, that's what I was looking for, appreciate it a lot.
Mr. Chair, two things. First of all, I'd like to thank you for all and your staff's efforts for bringing all these inmates in from other counties and the amount of income and revenue that's bringing to Morrison County. Very important. The other thing is Ole Olson, who runs the maintainer out in Cushing, just praised our STS crew for all the help that they've given them with ditch cleaning and just so many things they help with. So the community is very aware and very much appreciates that, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Johnson.
I hear a lot of good, all the comments I've heard on the Sentence to Serve group is good, what a good job they do.
Commissioner Wilson?
Sean, on your two-year comparison,
Yep.
total inmates, that 197, does that include the ones we rent out to, or these are inmates from our county on this report?
Yep, it includes everyone.
Includes the ones we rent to also?
Correct.
Okay.
You can see it's a little less because I think we just went into that contract with Cass later on in the summer.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions, gentlemen?
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Have a good day.
Appreciate it.
Have a good day, Sheriff. You too.
Do we have Hands of Hope?
Good morning.
Ladies.
Come on, ladies.
Good morning.
So we were asked to just come give a little update about Hands of Hope. We were here a couple weeks ago to do proclamations in front of the commissioners.
If you may, could you give your names? I know some
Absolutely,
most of them, so.
absolutely. Stephanie Ock, Executive Director for Hands of Hope.
And Julie Capsch, Assistant Director.
So I'm not quite sure what kinds of questions that the commissioners have of us at this point. So I'll just say a little bit about the agency and what we do, and I'll let Julie chime in too. But we provide services to all kinds of crime victims in the area: domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, and general crime. And because we come in and talk about specific Awareness Month activities, but don't really talk a lot about services, I thought we could talk a little bit more about the services that we provide. So I just wanted to hand out some brochures. Julie probably does more direct service than I do in the agency, but just to talk a little bit about the services that we provide. We really provide unique services to victims when they come in based on what their needs are. So for some people that come in that have been victimized, they may need, for example, safety planning, or they may need safe housing. They might have been a victim of a criminal kind of activity, and so they may actually end up needing to go to court to testify, and we may help them through that process and understanding what's happening with that process. A lot of them that come in are looking for assistance with filing orders for protection or harassment restraining orders. And so we spend a fair amount of time doing that type of service.
If you say when they come in, where do they come to?
They come to our office. We're in the historic courthouse.
Okay.
We provide services also over our 24-hour crisis line, but a lot of people actually come in to get services. I'd say we probably have more that come in that way and don't require an appointment or anything like that. So they just drop in and ask questions or get the services they need. All the services are free. And so they don't need to pay anything at all unless they have to pay some kind of a filing fee, for example, for a harassment restraining order or something like that. So are there any questions about the kinds of services that we provide? Otherwise, I wanted to just give you a little update on some of our projects. I'm gonna let Julie talk about.
Well, we do a lot of referrals out, because, you know, obviously every victim who comes in is different. And we also provide support to what we call like their loved ones, the secondary victims. Sometimes they are the only ones that come to us because they're concerned about somebody, but that individual victim may never reach out to us. So we offer all kinds of support to them as well. And a lot of our meeting times, one-on-one with them, involve figuring out a plan. Whatever their needs are, we're completely led by them. And often we end up making referrals for housing and maybe to the Salvation Army and for food and clothing, and we have
Assistance with rent.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
assistance
A big
with
one.
moving, assistance with rent. Whatever they need, we try to find an answer for them, at least a direction to point them in. And same if somebody contacts us that we can't really provide them a service, we'll find an agency that can. So it's another part of what we do.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Jazinski.
If I may, ladies, I have a couple of different questions.
Sure.
And the biggest one that I've heard so far in my mind is dollars and cents. You didn't say that, but I heard it. So I'm wondering, number one is, can you explain your funding stream?
Sure.
And as you explain your funding stream, I wonder if you can add several things to it. Training,
Okay.
number of employees,
Okay.
and number of volunteers.
All right, I'll do my best.
And in it's all right, I wrote it down so I could recite that. But more so than anything is explain the funding stream, because you're talking about money and anything that you're dealing with. Now, every bit of it is money. The funding stream, which is gonna obviously go along with the training, which is gonna go along with the number of employees paid, which is also going to include the number of employees, if you will, that are volunteers.
Yes. So our current budget is $443,318. Of that budget, $374,507 comes from the state. And it comes through the Department of Public Safety Office of Justice programs. In order to be able to provide the services that we do to clients and not charge them any fees, almost all of our funding goes into staff salaries and benefits and training and the kinds of things you're talking about. Yeah, we have 8 current employees, 6 besides Julie and I. We have 2 that work in Todd County and the rest are in our Morrison County office. We have 12 volunteer advocates that primarily are trained to take call on our 24-hour crisis line.
And 12 excuse me, Mr. Chair, 12 volunteer advocates are fully volunteers.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, so at night when our office closes, they take the crisis line phone until the next morning when our office is staffed again.
Sure.
And then also cover holidays and weekends and that kind of thing.
Mr. Chair, if I may interject, okay, I'm one of those people, if something's in my mind, I gotta say it. But anyways, you said that Todd County has positions. So the money we were talking about, you said 443,000 roughly, and then how much of that is in, you said 300 something was?
Yeah, 374,507.
374 is state.
Yep.
And now, would that be Morrison Todd? This is a combined,
Yes.
or, so
Yes.
this is a two-county,
Yes.
okay, I just wanted to.
Most of the time when we come here, we try to give statistics and things specifically to Morrison County.
No,
because-
understood.
But yes, we
understood.
serve 2 counties.
But the funding, so the funding you get from the state covers 2 counties?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to.
Yep.
Commissioner Johnson.
Mr. Chair, I have one question. You know, and I know the county, we give a small amount. And I know my daughter used to work there a while back, but the money they get, they do a lot with a little. You know, the little that we give, they do a lot for it. So thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you. Some of the other funding that we get, I just wanted to mention, so Catholic Health Initiatives, St. Gabriel's Hospital has a grant that they have provided to us. If you've heard of the Violence Prevention Initiative in Morrison County, that funds that program. And then we also have Morrison County United Way and then Morrison County Social Services money. But by far, the greatest majority of the money that comes to us trickles in through the state and federal, through, if you're familiar with VOCA or VAWA money, which is Violence Against Women Act or Victims of Crime Act.
And that being said, do you know right offhand how much Morrison County Social Services gives you?
$7,000-8,000, somewhere in that ballpark. I can't tell you exactly. I need my money person here to
Well,
tell
no,
me.
that's fine. I'm just wanting, you know.
I mean, the
Yeah,
difference is, Mr. Chair, is that the 443,000, that's your budget, the
Right.
374,000 that you get from the state, that leaves $69,000 that's gotta come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And those are the avenues
Yeah.
where that $69,000-70,000
Yeah.
comes from.
We get some
historically.
court fees and offender fees that they're able to collect, and so there's a portion of that trickles to us from court administration and through the court system. That's pretty inconsistent, and we never really know what we're gonna get with that or what we can rely on with that, so that's just kind of a little bit of cushion on the side. But we do 2 major fundraisers each year. One of them is our golf tournament, and that, actually, we just set a date for that. It's July 29th here in Little Falls Country Club. And then we do a direct mailing right around the end of the year, a community support campaign those are our 2 main fundraisers, and the rest are mostly donations and things that trickle in.
I mean, the general public, for all practical purposes, has no idea that you exist, and that's good.
Until they need us.
No,
what we say.
exactly.
Yeah.
Until they need you, and all of a sudden, there you are to provide support. That support being whatever it might be. And I think it's very important to wrap my head around, yeah, you get a whole bunch of money from the state. I understand that. But there's $70,000 that you now have to go and ask this operation for, that organization for. You have to do a fundraiser here, a fundraiser there. But what you're doing is you're taking care of people in need. Call it whatever you want to. I mean, I'm sure there's a fancier word or fancier statement than that. But somebody's in crisis and they need a home. They need a bed for the night. They need gas for a vehicle, whatever it might be. I don't know, it doesn't matter. But it all takes funding to get the point across. So, and it takes employees, and it takes advocates, and it takes volunteers, and I can't speak highly enough, just so you know that.
Let me answer your other question about training, because you asked about training.
Yes, please.
We don't require our staff to have like a 4-year degree. Most of them do, but we don't require that. What we do require is that each person that comes in and works in our agency or volunteers on our crisis line has to go through a 56-hour advocacy training. 40 of that specifically focuses on sexual assault, which is by statute, and the rest is focusing on domestic violence, general crime, and child abuse issues. And then, of course, we have ongoing training that we require of people along the way. But so our volunteers go through 56 hours of training before they're ever allowed to take call on our crisis.
So if I'm gonna be a volunteer for your organization, for our organization, for everyone's organization, am I doing that 56 hours on my nickel?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for.
Mr. Chair, and if I may ask, since Brad's not in the room, how much does social services give to Hands of Hope annually?
I believe it's $86.50.
Okay. It's right around that.
$87.50, I believe.
$87.50, okay.
So that brings it, that matches the same.
A small amount of money for
Thank
what
you.
they do.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions?
Mr. Chair, first of all, I want to thank you for all you do, but is there any verification when people come in and say that something happened? Is there a process that they go through, or, well, you know what I'm asking?
We take people at face value, so we don't require proof that someone's been victimized. A lot of times they're referred to us by law enforcement or the courts, and so we know that there's documentation somewhere, but we don't investigate. Our job is really to support people where they're at when they come in and help them find the resources that they need. There are times when we find partway in the process that we're maybe on the other side of something that we don't want to be on, and then we have to kind of set a boundary there. But for the most part, I'd say the majority of the people that come into us, we feel are legitimate victims looking for services.
And we do conflict of interest checks just kind of internally as well, because we won't work with an opposing party, obviously.
Sure.
So
Sure.
kind of have ways to figure that out.
Well, thank you.
Any more questions, gentlemen?
Just thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay.
Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, you too.
Initiative Foundation.
Good morning.
Morning.
first of all, I'm Kathy Galswick, president of the Initiative Foundation. This is our 30th anniversary this year. I've had the privilege of being with the foundation since we began, and we've been housed here in Little Falls, Morrison County since day one. So, and I have with me today Carrie Tripp, our new Vice President for External Relations.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Carrie's a longtime resident of the region, but fairly new to the organization, and in her role will be a primary contact for our county and city partners and our donors as we continue to share the word about who we are and what we do. We appreciate the invitation to come today. As I understand it, you're interested in just a general update on our activity, but I can't not say thank you for your ongoing support to the foundation and for putting up with Commissioner Galswick when you had
I want to introduce, I'm Kevin, and I'm on the Headwaters Board with Kevin. I hear a lot about you, all positive. I just wanted to meet you, thank you.
And likewise,
Okay,
yes,
okay.
right. So, but I do know from personal experience that you give a lot of your time, and you answer a lot of phone calls and emails, and that it truly is a servant leadership role, so thank you for that. We have a PowerPoint presentation we're going to walk through just really briefly, and so I'll make a couple of general comments and then hand it off to Carrie to give you some recent examples of things that we've done in Morrison County. You've heard us share this information for forever, so I'll try to be very brief, but as you know, we are one of 6 regional foundations created in the mid-'80s in response to an economic crisis in Minnesota, and we're the only state in the country that has this model, where the whole state's covered by one of these regional community and economic development foundations that's focusing on improving communities, growing the economy, and giving people a chance to give back. So this is a map of our service area. We established our office in Little Falls because it's the geographic center of the region. So we have the 14 counties, 160 communities, and 2 Indian reservations in our region that we consider the communities that we serve. So our mission is all about engaging local people. They're the key resource. They know what's going on, they know the problems, they have the best ideas for solutions, and we consider ourselves tools in the toolbox to help people identify and carry out things that improve community. As I said to you last year, the thing that keeps me awake at night is who's going to lead this region. As a few of us are getting a little bit older, we need in this region over 11,000 people to serve on our county boards, our city councils, our townships, our school boards, our planning commissions, and to serve in leadership roles as executive directors and board members of nonprofit corporations. That number does not include businesses, who's going to own our companies, who's going to manage our companies as baby boomers retire and move on. And so it's really important that we think about the future of the region, and that we make sure that our young adults see it as a great opportunity to either stay or come back someday. And you'll hear a little bit of that as Carrie shares with you about a couple of our newer programs. We just finished a strategic plan, continues to advance these 3 pillars: strengthening the economy, improving our communities, and advancing philanthropy, giving people lots and lots of ways to give back to the region and make it better. And so we're going to briefly talk about our programs under each of those 3 areas: economy, community, and philanthropy, give you just a couple of examples of each, and then have some time to take your questions at the end. So I'll turn it over to Carrie.
Wonderful. So just as a quick overview on economic development, which of course you've heard how important that is in terms of a core pillar. And as a reminder, we do the business financing and technical assistance, and those are very sought after programs. Capacity building for economic development organizations. And then we have a new program that's really region-wide. And in order to support the economy in the future, we're really looking to support entrepreneurial growth and development. And this program is just very unique in that we are in a rapid stage of development to seek 3 to 5 individuals to launch this fall, to go through a program of education, mentoring, and some financial support through a stipend, so that these individuals who have a very good, solid entrepreneurial, for-profit idea, or possibly more of a social enterprise idea, and we can walk them through this program, and at the end, our ideal would be that they are ready to then launch their idea. What's really important is part of our look at that is really looking region-wide. So we don't want them all to come out of one or two counties. We're looking at spreading out, when we make our final choice, kind of spreading out the applicants across our region, so we really truly have a strong regional impact on that. So that's just a quick overview on the programs themselves. What I would bring up as new since the last time we presented to you is in terms of our business financing and assistance examples. We've recently given in the fall of 2015 last year a nice loan out to Eastwood of Minnesota, which is a holding company for the motel. That is a refinancing project in the Motley area. The other project we've done, which has been a little bit more expansive, and that's really been about both business retention and growth opportunities, is with Rotomolding Enterprise Holdings in Swanville. Because of our business financing program, we were able to support an ownership change to keep the business local in Morrison County. And so they were able to strengthen the business in the Swanville area, but not only that, the new owners brought in some new product ideas, and they have now expanded into the Little Falls Industrial Park. So that's a very nice success story.
Mr. Johnson, one question for
Sure.
you, Mr. Chair. And you work with Region 5 and Community Development also, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
on all-
The
on most of
local
these things.
economic development
Okay.
partners are key. Another, I think we mentioned it last year, Sprout,
Right,
where we
right.
Sure,
provided
yeah.
some
Sure.
financing in the
Okay.
early stages of the planning of that, or
Okay.
the fiber project here around Little Falls
Yep.
with community development.
Yep,
Yeah,
okay.
they're on speed dial.
Thank you.
And then just a nice reminder that it's really leveraging our local financial institutions'
Sure.
dollars so that we can go forward and help them through that. Community building, we have so many programs. Everything from disaster prep to helping with healthy organizations, healthy communities, our environment. And again, one of our key programs that is continually rising to the top is our Emerging Leaders program, because you've heard how important it is, not just in our communities, but to lead our nonprofits and to lead our businesses. So that has become a very important program. Rather than go into detail on all of them, I'll wait and see if you have any questions, but it's important just to remind you that we have a four-prong approach on all of our programs, which is training, technical assistance, being able to provide solid resources that are necessary for them to go forward in areas that we may not support, and grants. So we're an active grant-making agency in those areas. Specifically in Morrison County, there are a lot of examples, a lot of activity going on in our community building area. So I would say in our first, the Financial Resiliency Through Social Enterprise Program, which again is helping nonprofits be more financially sustainable and sound. We've had two organizations right now, Oasis of Central Minnesota and the Morrison County Humane Society, that are active in the program at this point. So they've gone through a business planning, training, some help with legal, business structure, and actually even before that, getting some training on doing a self-assessment to decide, is this something that's really appropriate, and are they ready to take those very difficult steps to start a social enterprise? Again, they're halfway through. These are solid organizations that have been very active to date, and we're really proud to have them in the program. I would also mention, although we brought them up in the past, Employment Enterprise has Enterprise Market here in Little Falls, and they are truly a great example of a financial resiliency success story, if you will. The store sells bulk, non-perishable foods and merchandise, and it's nice that it ends up being a training ground in terms of a retail work employment training ground to help people with development disabilities, mental illnesses, autism, and other related conditions. So it serves a dual purpose. And I think that is just really sums up what this program is all about, because it truly is doing well by doing good. And they're just a nice graduate success story. Currently, right now, in our Thriving Communities Initiative, the City of Little Falls has recently received a $10,000 grant to help with several projects they're working on that involve economic development and tourism, youth and mentorship, quality of life projects, and a Live Better, Live Longer initiative. So that's very active at this point in time. Our Emerging Leaders Program that we spoke about earlier, we just had our graduation of our first round after their first year. That just happened last week, Kathy.
Friday.
And we have two participants that basically are associated with Morrison County. One is Stephanie Leggett-Findley, and she actually works in the county. She works with the Deed Morrison office in the Vocational Rehabilitation Services program, and she collaborated as part of their job. They have to do a service project with us. And so she collaborated with the foundation to advance a long-term disaster recovery plan with a focus on what happens to our vulnerable populations and adults or children, families with mental illness, so that they're not forgotten in that whole disaster recovery plan. She did an amazing job. And Sydney Andringa lives here in Morrison County, and she did a wonderful service learning program with the Greater St. Cloud Development Corporation, and it truly was about supporting their Talent Summit Committee to help bring employers and job seekers together. So they have to do boots on the ground work along with getting several years worth of training and support, and that's been very positive. The Dolly Parton Imagination Library, we've recently given them a substantial grant. We know about the importance of reading and bringing our children up to pre-K readiness. So children ages birth to 5 years old receive a free book monthly. And it's always important to bring up, that is not, what am I trying to say, financially driven in terms of your own income. Anybody is eligible for a book to make sure they are advancing early childhood initiatives. In Morrison County, we have 1,150 children participating and have graduated over 2,740 children since the program began. And as I understand it, as the awareness and population of that support grows, we're servicing or looking at about 20 applications weekly. So it's very steady. We've had a recent grant to support family literacy kits and continue to work with the Morrison County Interagency Coordinating Council on early childhood initiatives. So I would move on and take a quick look at philanthropy and local giving. Again, we have several ways that we look at our funding stream, and certainly have appreciated your long-term support. And it's important to note that right now in Morrison County, every dollar that's donated equates to about $3.29 back into the community. And that's probably about a 6-month-old projection as we continually update that. So we'll keep you posted as those numbers increase and change. But certainly a positive return. And part of our philanthropy is the offering of our turnkey partner funds, and we're very active, or you have a very active Morrison County area as it comes to partner funds. Right now, Playing It Forward just established a fund in February of this year, and it's the Kenneth and Evelyn Pinckney Young Musicians Fund. They have given out a few grants, one to Great River Arts, and are now doing some repair work for young or for musical instruments, so that young folks have the opportunity to join the band who may not otherwise have been able to. The 482 Education Foundation is in an active launch stage. They were established previously, but they are just recommending now their first grant of $1,500 to the school's weekend food backpack program that's going to start this fall. And I would close that by saying the Morrison County Area Foundation is at our office today. In about an hour, they'll be doing a lunch and learn and leading a group of all 5 school districts in the county through the weekend backpack food programs in order to learn from each other and know how to advance that support. I think that's really key in what we do, is we're very synergistic in connecting people so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Our final slide here is just a quick summary of our impact since inception 30 years ago. And our total of grants and loans into the region is at about 80 million. The investment here in Morrison County is just shy of 7 million. And you can see that we can point to well over 12,000 jobs secured, including 1,500 right here in the county. And over 7,000 people that have been involved in giving back their time and talents to improve their communities. So again, we thank you for your ongoing support. It's really important to our other funders to see that our local cities, counties, businesses,
absolutely.
banks, individuals believe in what we do and demonstrate that by supporting us as well. We do have a little information packet for you today that includes just a summary of our investments in Morrison County and an issue of the IQ magazine that has a story about that, the nonprofit that Carrie talked about, the EEI Enterprise Market in Little Falls, which is really cool. So be happy to pass those out when we're done here. So
Any questions, gentlemen?
No, I'd like to thank you for all you do and all you did in the past.
Mr. Chair, as would I like to thank you for all you do. Just one point that I need to make, all right? I can't see of a more beneficial product to central Minnesota than to bring the trail through Little Falls and up to Brainerd to connect these trails. I was at Jordy's on Sunday, and I've been meeting with our legislators. I've met with the governor twice on the importance of that trail coming through here. I mean, you talk about the four things, the community, about economy, philanthropy, entrepreneurship. I mean, the amount of business that would bring. Jordy, and talking with her on Sunday, what that brought to her business. She has 30 employees, and a lot of them are young people that are getting involved in community with that trail. So if that trail were to come through, just the amount to this community, to Brainerd, to connect up to the Pipe Onion would be just, so anything you can do. I met with Rick Nolan and also with Amy on trying to get federal funding for that. So if we don't provide positive activities for our young people, they will find negative ones. So, I mean, the more we can do, and the businesses that would come along that trail through Little Falls would just be, I mean, so all the studies, and we were at Lanesboro, saw what that little 60-mile dead-end trail has done for that community. But could you imagine, all of these rides and these bike-a-thons would come on that trail, so they wouldn't be out on our highways. So the positive benefits of that. So anything you can do to foster that, to really encourage and support that would be just wonderful.
I know Don Hickman of our staff has been involved in a lot of the planning meetings and even the design of hooking up. You know, the Wobegon system, the Brainerd system, and the whole path around the camp and all of that. So, but we'll check in with him and see if there's
any
any
help you
breaking
can
news
give. The
there.
more people we have working on that, the better. The business opportunities would be just.
Absolutely.
So
You don't
thank
have
you.
to convince me. I agree
Appreciate that.
100%.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I just have one, I hope, really quick thing. I understand what a loan is. A loan is something I'm gonna pay back. A grant, very often, is not that way. A grant, very often, you're gonna give me, a group, an organization, grant funding. Off the top of your head, in 2015, I don't care to who, but to Morrison County, do you know how much grant money was actually, rough numbers, that was tossed out in Morrison County?
In Morrison County in 2000.
And I want to be kind of specific when I say that.
Right.
This is money that is not being
Correct.
paid back in the form of a loan.
Right.
So it's capacity building dollars.
Right. I have a list, but I
Rough-
don't have a total.
rough number.
Let me just clarify. Loans to businesses, grants to nonprofits.
Yep.
We don't make grants to businesses.
Okay.
So I can give you this list, Jeff.
No, I'm just looking for just a rough number.
Yeah, okay.
1,000, 10,000,
100,000.
100,000? Beautiful, that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
well,
you
thank
both.
you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it a lot.
Have a good day. Thanks for what you do.
I think what we'll do, we'll meet with South Country, and after that, we'll take a 5.
All right.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Then so Leota can head south, right?
Exactly.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, Mr. Chair, members of the board, thank you for once again giving me the opportunity to appear before you and provide some updates. I will start with probably the thing that most people have had questions about, and that is the legislation that South Country and the other county-based purchasing plans were pursuing. So as a joint proposal from South Country Health Alliance, Prime West, Itasca Medical Care, we introduced one piece of legislation. It was Senate File 2518 and House File 3282. The Senate file was being carried by Senator Johnson, who represents counties within South Country service area. House file was being carried by Representative Schomacher, who represents one of Prime West County's areas. We were able to have it introduced in the Senate. It was heard and passed unanimously out of committee, referred to the Senate Finance Committee. Unfortunately, we were not successful in getting it heard in the House. Came as a surprise to us because we had had tremendous support. We had 24 signatures on the bill, including the chair of the House Policy Committee and House Finance Committee. But at the last minute, it was decided not to be heard.
May I ask, who decides it's not going to be heard?
Well, the chair of the committee, that it needs to be heard in,
And
so.
what would be the reason if you have, again, I'm just throwing that out there. No idea.
We don't know the final reason why it was not heard. In the earlier conversations, it didn't appear that it was going to be a problem.
Right.
The last 2 days of committee, the legislative individual that we work with, Tom Lehman, was speaking with them on a regular basis, trying to get the hearing scheduled, and on the last day, at the end of her committee, she said that she wasn't hearing it. She had thought about having an additional hearing the next day, in which it would have been included, and then decided not to do that additional hearing.
Who was the chair of that committee?
That was Representative Mack. So it was referred to Senate Finance Committee. With that, we were continuing to work with DHS. Throughout this process, we had had multiple meetings with DHS trying to work through a reach agreement on language. We made progress, but when we got right down to it, that final sticking point was really county authority. They recognized that procurement should look different for county-based purchasing plans, and they were willing to put forward some language identifying, that it would be done as a geographic region, not as part of a statewide, some of those types of things. But when we got right down to it, it was that county authority piece that seemed to be the sticking block. When we spoke with them, they said, well, we were trying to include that. They had proposed language that said in the procurement process, the county's recommendation of plans would be given greater consideration. And our feeling was that just wasn't sufficient. Senator Lori was the chair of the Finance Committee, had two major concerns. One, he was really looking for us to reach agreement on the language with DHS, which we realized we weren't going to be able to accomplish in that short of a time period, and also that there was a fiscal note attached to it, because when it was heard in the Senate, an amendment was added that it would require DHS to pursue a waiver.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair Leota, I don't get it. In the time, hasn't South Country and DHS been pounding this thing
For a year?
forever? And all of a sudden we couldn't reach agreement in this time? In what time, the legislators'
Yeah,
time?
the session time.
I'm sorry, good word,
Yep,
session
during,
time.
during session. What it was, and part of the pieces is we worked with DHS when we first proposed language. They said, well, no, we can't do that because of this federal regulation. So we said, what federal regulation are you referencing? We finally got that information like the day before the hearing. Then when we kind of challenged that, then there was another piece of regulation that they pointed to. So it was kind of piecemealed out. The success, I believe the progress that we made is we now know that those regulations that they're pointing to, and we can continue to work with our attorneys on looking at whether that's valid. So we made progress. We decided to pull the bill, and because our concern was if we passed something that really didn't give us what we needed, and then tried to come back next year, the response was going to be, you were just here. So we decided to pull it at that point. We have had a commitment from DHS to continue to have discussions with us over the interim.
Okay.
So there's willingness there to continue to have these conversations and to work forward with it. Senator Jensen has been a champion for South Country and will continue to work with us through the interim. So our goal would be to try and get this nailed down and bring it back next session. With short session, we were running up to roadblocks of final committee deadline. Second committee deadline was the 21st, that it needed to be heard in the Senate, but the last committee meeting was held a week before that. And so we had just gotten that additional language. We just weren't able to get it turned around that quickly. But we will be continuing to work on it. The Department of Human Services, some of their leadership team is going to be visiting South Country. We originally had it scheduled for next Wednesday. They got called into a meeting due to session, and so we've rescheduled that for June 1st. So I'm having them down to meet with our leadership team, help them learn more about South Country, understand how we work with our members, how we work with our counties, and really what it looks like in rural areas. So progress, not giving up on it. We'll keep pushing forward with it, but I do think we made some inroads. Any questions on that?
No, Mr. Chair, the only thing I got to add is I'm surprised Leota doesn't have any gray hair since last July after what all she went through. After what all she went through, so thank you for all you did.
So for 2015, just to kind of bring you some updates on that as far as the closeout of the 2015 year, we closed the year with about a 1.5 net income for 2015. In addition with that, though, we did set aside about 1.8 million in what's known as a premium deficiency reserve. So really that was income from 15 that we've booked to meet obligations in 16. In the insurance industry, this premium deficiency reserve is established when you identify that your revenue is not likely to keep pace with your expenses. And so as a result of that competitive bidding process last year, the rates for the medical assistants under 65 and MinCare population are very, very low. We're subject, our rates are tied to whatever that low bid rate was. So we have estimated that for those groups, our revenue is not going to meet the needs of the potential expenses. So we've set that 1.9 aside in 2015 that will be released over the course of 2016. If we find that we have a more positive experience in 2016 and that money isn't needed, then that money goes directly to the bottom line at the end of 2016. It would become additional income for us. What I do know is we are not the only plan that in 2016 has established a premium deficiency reserve. And we know that one of the other county-based purchasing plans is also establishing a PDR for this year, and we may likely see that with some of the other plans as well. In some respects, we knew as we looked forward to it that we were looking at a potential deficit year this year. Fortunately, we have the capital and surplus in place to support us through that process. Our current capital and surplus is about 30 million. So we can weather this year out. If, as we anticipate, there are multiple plans that have established this PDR, I think the department is going to have to look at the soundness of their rates for these plans and make adjustments as we go into next year. Our RBC, the risk-based capital, which is that measure of solvency that the Department of Health uses to measure health plans, our RBC at the end of 2015 is 341, so we're still well above that 200 minimum statutory requirement. With enrollment, we anticipated that with having a second plan in each of our counties that we will see a decrease in enrollment throughout the year. At the end of 2015, we had just a little over 37,000 members across all of South Country's counties and programs. As of April of this year, we have 35,791. So we've had a reduction of about 1,400 members. We will continue to see that. If you look at the membership, I pulled out for this purpose just the medical assistants under 65 in the Minnesota Care, because that's where we'll see the most changes. So you can see that for South Country's overall enrollment, we're seeing that drop in that under 65 Medicaid, but we are seeing an increase in the Minnesota Care enrollment, and I believe that we will continue to see that. You can see in Morrison County, we've actually gone up with the Medicaid under 65, and also seeing an increase in the Minnesota Care. So this is something that we'll be watching throughout the year. We do know that because of that default assignment, if a member doesn't make a plan selection, they're automatically going to get assigned to the other plan for that Medicaid and Minnesota Care population. When I looked back at our previous experience in Dodge and Wabasha in 2006, DHS was required to put a second plan in there because of their status as a metropolitan statistical area. We really didn't see a significant erosion in the membership until well into the third and fourth year. So while it will happen, we will do our best to mitigate that. We're also going to be continuing to look at our ability to have more of a presence, more name recognition within each of our member counties, because we know that is one of the challenges, is that when you have a South Country Health Alliance compared to a Medica or to a Blue Plus, because of their commercial business, that name is very well recognized.
If I could just make a couple of comments, Leota, and anecdotally, what I will say is that our financial unit noticed in January that there were a few members switching from South Country, not passively, but actively switching from South Country to Medica, and so when I've paid attention to these numbers the last couple of months, it's going back up. So at this point, the decrease isn't as dramatic as I thought it might be, and so it's been good to see. The other thing that I will say is she doesn't have the numbers for special needs basic care, but as of July 1st, South Country will be the only special needs basic care plan in Morrison County. Medica is getting out of that product in the northern parts of Minnesota, so there could be some change in enrollment for special needs basic care from Medica to South Country.
So we may see, and actually, as Brad said, an increase in enrollment in that particular program. And that's one of the things, it was really difficult as we looked at budget in that this year, because we have to estimate what our enrollment will be, and because of all of the changes that were taking place, the second plan in all of our counties, but the possibility of an increased enrollment in SMBC because of Medica leaving 3 of our counties, your best estimate of what our enrollment is going to be. Our revenues are based off of our enrollment. So again, a best estimate of what our revenue will be, and that can significantly change depending on the mix of membership that we have. And then again, an estimate of what our predicted medical expenses will be for the year. So a lot of estimates going into it. I give Brian credit. He has done a great job of just really trying to manage all of this and keep it in place.
I think we had about 80 or 90 members under Medica that are currently, or were under Medica, so it will be an interesting transition as well for some of those clients, because some of them are quite needy, and so we'll see how Medica and the Department of Human Services works on that transition and sharing of information and changing plans if they so choose.
And across the 3 counties that are impacted by that are Morrison, Todd, and Wadena, and across those 3 counties, there's about 600 members.
Is that the
that are
1st
being
of
served.
July?
1st of July, yep.
So clients should be getting their notices, I think, the first week in May initially, so.
Okay.
What I do want to share with you, though, is in spite of the distraction that we had last year, our team at South Country continued to press forward and fill their commitment of serving our members, our providers, and our counties. And so some of the things that were accomplished, credentialing, there had been a backlog in the credentialing that a concern had been raised. Our team really dug into that, looked at the process that they were using, what could they do to be more efficient, to increase the timeliness of that, and within a 3-month period took the timeline for credentialing new providers from over 120 days to less than 60 days. and have maintained that level now. The industry standard is 90 days is what's allowed. We implemented, in working with our counties, the development of our Healthy Pathways program that is really a service to do prevention and early intervention of individuals with mental health needs. To be able to get in there and work with them more quickly, providing funding for the counties to be able to serve these individuals, to help build that relationship, to determine what level of services need, assist them in getting engaged in services, or in some situations, it's been more of a short-term kind of situation. They've been able to address the individual's needs, and they've moved on and been able to continue to function independently. Also through 15, we continued to move forward with some of the initiatives that we had planned for 2016. So as of the first of the year, we took over internally case management, complex medical case management for our members. So those individuals that perhaps are a transplant recipient, have been involved in an accident, preterm babies, being able to work with those members, addressing their needs during the time that they're hospitalized, but also making those connections back to the county, so getting them connected with the services in the county through Public Health Human Services. We brought in the additional member service for our dental and chiropractic services, which had been being handled independently. So it created a single point of contact for our member for all questions or concerns regarding eligibility, services, claims issues, all of those types of things. Our call volume has increased an average of about 600 calls a month in this year over 2,000 with the addition of taking on those calls. And again, I believe it provides a higher quality of services for our members. We've been making changes to our transportation program, focused in this first part of the year on the specialized transportation services, but moving forward towards the middle of the year to be looking at the common carrier transportation that currently is being managed by our individual counties. We've engaged a specialty drug program to assist us in working with those members that are on some of these new very high cost drugs, such as for Hep C, for multiple sclerosis, some of those types of things, ensuring that the members have access to the medication, that they understand how the medication needs to be used, and to identify other services that might be needed. We've also continued to move forward with our pay-for-performance programs with our providers and really taking that to the next level. So we're identifying 2 measures that we would like them to work for, but giving our providers each that opportunity to identify 2 measures that are more specific to issues that they're trying to address within their communities. So we didn't stand still. We continue to move forward. We'll continue pushing forward. Upcoming, we do have our triennial audit from the Minnesota Department of Health scheduled in May. So they'll be on site May 16th through the 20th. I don't anticipate any significant issues or concerns with that. Hopefully, we'll come away with that with very positive outcomes as well.
Okay,
Any
thank you.
questions, gentlemen?
Mr. Chair? You know, Leota, I've worked with big companies before, having been certified by Medicon, Medicare, and Blue Plus as a counselor, and the many things and hoops you have to jump through, okay, are unbelievable. That being said, I don't believe that those big programs, okay, would provide the personal community investment and involvement, which is so important. I mean, Apple Tree Dental, bringing programs to this community that we don't have is so primary, and reinvesting those dollars into the community. I can't speak highly enough, and thank you so much for all you do. I mean, without that, these big programs would not come here to Little Falls and to Morrison County and help with those programs. They just would not. And I appreciate your personal involvement, your personal dedication to this county. Thank you.
And again, Mr. Johnson brought this up too, you know, the grants that you guys give, you don't see that from the big companies coming into these smaller communities like that. So again, it's so important that, I say it becomes so much bureaucratic down there, it just frustrates me.
Mr. Chair, one question. The Apple Tree, is that, are they at the hospital now?
Katie's got the up-to-date information on
I
that.
actually did. I had a
Oh.
conference call with Dr. Helgeson, who's
Okay.
the executive director. They had some hiccups because they were moving the kidney transplant.
They're doing all sorts of reconstruction at the
Yeah.
specialty
Okay.
clinic
So
on the
they were
backside
moving,
of.
So they
Okay.
were having a hard time having a place for their equipment. But
Okay.
they're also, so they've brought up staff from some of their other places too.
Okay.
I think their first, they have dates scheduled out until July. Not very many yet, but they're just, however many calls they're
Okay.
getting,
I
then they're
believe they were
scheduling more.
seeing 80 or 90 clients this first go-around in 2 days. Was that what your email said?
No, a little less than that.
I thought it was about 80 or, it was quite a large number.
It was
a
less
good-
than 80.
It
Was
was
less
a good
than 80.
number. It was a good number, but they're gonna do with need.
Sure.
If they have the need, they're gonna have more days scheduled.
And again, with
It'll start
Apple
out
Tree,
slow.
how do they, their name isn't out there yet, because a lot of people don't know about them. Maybe they don't want that because they're really not ready to start.
Well, actually, we are doing lots of
Yeah,
advertising.
they're doing
Okay.
marketing, for sure.
Apple Tree is mostly out of the south part, right? A lot of it in Minneapolis? Or?
Nope, in the northwest.
Oh, in the northwest.
There's just a gap
Okay.
between Wadena, Todd, Morrison.
Okay.
Just kind of the Highway 10 corridor, there's about 4 counties that are gaps. Otherwise, they'll kind of have a northwest to southeast flavor.
Yeah.
And
So they-
again, if I may, you don't need to have low income to go to Apple
That's
Tree.
what I was gonna
No.
say.
It will
People have
serve,
to realize they'll
We could
serve.
go.
Exactly.
If we wanted to go.
Well, we're low
yep,
income.
they will accept other major insurance carriers.
Right, yeah. See, I
So
mean,
our
it's-
goal was, yes, we want to serve our members, but it's really for community access.
Right,
That
yep,
was
exactly.
such an issue.
But yeah, again, the biggest issue though is for the low income that don't be able to provide the dental. That is a great thing for this community.
You
And
know,
they're,
and the long-term goal is to develop a permanent office site
Right,
here.
yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
starting out with kind of this transitional where chairs are, fortunately, they're able to have the chairs there permanently and then they bring staff in to serve. But as it builds up, as the awareness gets out there and as their roster fills, the long-term goal would be to develop an office site here.
Commissioner Winch of the county board is low income, though.
There you go.
and just one other comment, about South Country, they've been a good partner with the State Innovation Model Grant between us and St. Gabriel's Hospital. And now Dr. Brad is coming up and participating in all the leadership team meetings. So we're starting to pull some good data around successes with that particular program, so.
Mr. Chair, I know TCC was real happy to hear about Apple Tree with early childhood dental work and stuff, so.
Yep.
Any more questions,
Okay.
gentlemen? Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Very
That's all you do.
good.
We're gonna take that 5, gentlemen.
Leota, we'll see you next week.
Right.
Why wouldn't we?
Well, we got 2 people here missing.
So important people.
Important ones. Taking notes.
Yeah,
Then we should start.
they probably wanna.
Be in.
Really, you're gonna start?
Yep.
Yep.
So Pat Boone and myself, I'm Katie Kirshner, Public Health Director. We came to the board back in September, asking about creating a process for some funding from the National Joint Powers Alliance for emergency medical responder training. Since then, Pat and myself, Michelle Taugis, our community health supervisor in public health, Anna Gruber and Emily Sarah from NJPA, and then Steve, is it Flaherty? Flaherty from the Minnesota Board of Firefighter Training and Education have been meeting. We have come up with a process to vet the funding out to the 5 counties, which are Cass, Crow Wing, Morrison, Todd, and Wadena. NJPA has committed $175,000 per year for the next 2 years, starting July 1st of this year and then ending June 30th of 2018. This includes $225 per person per year for law enforcement, dispatchers, jail staff, and then other EMS or first responders not covered by the MBFTE, so that Minnesota Board of Firefighter Training. And then $50 per person per year for conservation officers, which is a new one that we've included, and local public health and human services. For example, in Wadena County, they have about 45 law enforcement staff. So every year they would receive, if they utilize the funding, they would receive about $10,000. Any questions so far? Okay.
again, as Katie mentioned, we partnered with NJPA and we put a lot of effort into establishing this. The NJPA had funded this process in the past. And over the course of the last year, they had some issues and some concerns on how the money was handled and how it was done. So they pretty much dropped it and partnered with the Fire Training Board. And so they continued funding firefighters, but they eliminated the rest of the public staff as far as law enforcement, EMS, and EMS agencies that aren't tied to fire departments. So we really wanted to go out and try to secure some funding for these agencies, because it's a lot of dollars, and there's a lot of agencies that aren't tied to fire departments. So we've developed a process through the course of a lot of meetings to make it very easy for organizations to select their own vendor that they wish to provide the training. Basically, there's a county validator that would have to be involved. Each county would have to commit a validator that will sign off and manage basically the dollar amount of the grant. And each agency then has to also provide a roster to the county validator each year so that we know exactly how many people that agency is going to have.
That's actually not a new process for Morrison County.
Correct.
We do get our rosters from the agencies. It may be a new process though for the other counties. We need to look into that.
So the agency then selects the class, and the classes that we cover through this grant are going to be CPR, AD, basic first aid for initial and refresher, EMR, which is a new term for first responder. That will cover the initial and refresher for those people, and then EMT, initial and refresher. If we get through a whole fiscal year and there's money left of the $175,000 for the region, then we're going to make that available to agencies to put in for mini grants for equipment or other training. We're also looking at possibly having some regional training events for psychological.
We're looking this fall to maybe possibly do a psych first aid training at Camp Ripley for all 5 counties, whoever would like to participate. And then possibly maybe one in the spring as well, funded through this grant.
And being there was what we've also developed. Any questions on that phase of it to this point?
Actually, I don't know, Mr. Chair, if this is the time and the place, and if it's not, just jump in and tell me. That $175,000 a year.
Correct.
Divided by 5. No.
No, it doesn't necessarily go by county. It goes by the region. There's $175,000 for the region to use.
Yep.
And there's 5 counties in the region.
And there's 5 counties in the region.
Is it safe to say rough numbers divided by 5?
Not quite.
No.
Some counties have a bigger population, tend to have more, have more law enforcement, have more
First
responders, right?
And I'll use Todd County as the example.
Yep,
Most of all their first responder teams at Todd County are affiliated with the fire department.
Yep.
That would eliminate them from this funding pool.
Because with the items that we're talking about here would already be covered underneath fire.
Correct. Yeah.
So as an example then, if we were to use that theory of divided by 5, that's 35,000. Conceivably, it should be higher than 35,000.
Are you from Morrison County, are you thinking?
Well,
probably, because we're
taking Todd out of the equation.
Right.
For a good share of the first responders.
For a portion of it, yes.
Yep, that's all I'm talking about.
But they said Wadena County's getting some extra or different, or what did you say about Wadena?
That was just my example that I used.
Okay, very good.
That was just an
For their
example.
law enforcement agency.
Okay, I understand.
Yes, without actually having true numbers of residents in each county, I would say Morrison County is probably going to gain a few more dollars in that, because we have a lot of first responder agencies that are not affiliated with fire departments.
So what this should do, and I gotta tell you, I am so pro this, it's unbelievable, should take the Pierce First Response Team, and I'm just picking on Pierce, the Swanville First Response Team, so now I'm picking on Swanville, their bake sales and pancake luncheons and that kind of stuff to raise funds, because that's how these first responders have raised funds. As you very well know, Chief, throughout all these years, that's how they have raised their funding. That should be able to lighten up just a little bit.
It will lighten the burden. Is it going to eliminate it completely? No,
probably not.
But this will help them get continued education that's
Abs-
required to maintain their
Fantastic.
certifications that they need.
Thank you.
So with the issues also that the NJPA had with this in the past, we've kind of been tagged as the executive committee by the NJPA, which consists of Katie and Michelle, myself, Anna Gruber, and Sarah from the NJPA. And we're going to be kind of the review committee for this, and we're going to manage it to make sure that each county's doing the paperwork correctly, and that nobody's misusing funds or any of that stuff. We're going to police it very well, and we've really been detailed in our process so that we try to eliminate any of the issues that history has shown for the counties, but we're going to have, that committee is going to kind of oversee it, and if there's questions, that committee then will meet and resolve those issues or questions as we proceed forward.
Mr. Chair, are there any legal issues that need to be reviewed by our county attorney, or I'm just curious with
No,
agreements like this? I'm just
what
curious.
we did to circumvent some of that stuff, and that's how we got Steve Flaherty involved with the state training board. The money is actually given to Steve Flaherty's office at the State Fire Marshal's office. So the county person that is selected by each agency will have a bill from the vendor. It will be signed by the agency that they provided the services to. They will look at it, validate it, and then send it to the MBFT. And Steve Flaherty then will look at it, and their staff has to contract with NJPA to actually administer the
Access the
funds.
money. Okay, I was just.
So we really
Good
don't
question.
touch any of the money, so it's policed through that side, and that's how it's policed.
Okay, thank you.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, if we're talking about X for the dollar value,
Yep.
and if in the past X has gone to the EMS Joint Powers Board, as you're very well aware, and tried to make some of that X up, their first stop should now be this grant.
Correct. There is still the Marion Larson.
Yep, Marion, yep.
The
That's what I
region,
mean,
the EMSR
region.
region, yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Their funding is a little tighter, and
Yep,
it's
very
really
much.
a different county region too. This is 5 counties going to the north. Her region goes farther south and covers a lot of area. But yes, the
Exactly, but it does
agencies would
cover-
utilize this first. And Marion is also involved in this, and she will be CC'd in all the money that's being
Good.
paid out, so she's also tracking it.
Because in our region that you're talking about here, Morrison and Todd are certainly in the EMS region, and Cass, and I don't know if Cass was in this, I forgot already.
Yeah, Cass is
But so,
growing.
for
in Wadena.
those three and, the Crow Wing and Wadena are also in the EMS region.
Yeah, so,
So they're there.
right.
But my point is, as long as she's on board with the whole thing and knows, if there's funds available, because you're right, that EMS Joint Powers Board funding stream, which is seatbelts predominantly, is dwindling a bit.
Yep.
So, good.
She's
good.
on board, she will be copied on every bill that's paid out, so she can track what
Fantastic.
agency got money, how much,
Fantastic.
and everything else.
And Marion's been involved in, she's conferenced in on all of our meetings, so she knows, she got to weigh in on the process, and make sure that, there was a way to have checks and balances.
Sure,
So.
beautiful.
So our group kind of estimates this will probably take, once everything's set up for that county validator position, so really, the investment that each county is probably giving is about 2 to 3 hours a month. Just to kind of filter through the paperwork and to do some validating and send that paperwork off. If it's utilized, the investment, or what we're getting outweighs the investment for sure. I mean, that's the big key though, if it's utilized. So we're really looking to get the word out there to make sure everybody hears about it. We will be having a mandatory meeting for the vendors, so those trainers, they're going to have to come to NJPA on May 19th for a meeting to be considered as an approved vendor by NJPA. And the county validators will also be required to be there that day to understand the process, to make sure that the money is vetted correctly so that we can continue this funding out to those counties. And then after that meeting will be a list of approved vendors in our region for people as of July 1st to start utilizing.
And my goodness, in Morrison County, we've got plenty of first responders that are not affiliated with fire. We have a lot of law enforcement personnel that, by state statute, they have to be constantly trained in this kind of stuff. And financially, it's a draining thing. There's no doubt about it. And it's got to come from somewhere because that's what it is. This is just a wonderful program.
Commissioner
I just
Wilson.
think it will be.
I'm just glad to see that we have funding for our first responders and all the people, because these people all donate a lot of their time and money out of their pocket, but I know if it wasn't for you guys, you wouldn't have got this funding, because you have put a program together that needed to be put together. Sometimes it's not easy to give money away, especially when you're paying bills of the general public for things they do, and you guys have come up with a program, I know, and you've made it a lot easier for NJPA to work with, and I think this is exactly what we're looking for, our people to get involved and to bring the process and make it happen, and then they're willing to give the money for these things. But I know that this probably would not have happened without Pat's work and you guys for everything you've done.
This has
So-
been a huge team effort from
Yep.
the get-go. We do our public safety meetings quarterly, and that's where, we found out that the money, NGPA was pulling that money from the first responders, and the fire departments are still covered. And that's kind of what was the driving force for us to get together and say, okay, we need to figure something out. And we started this,
August.
last August. So it's there's been a lot of effort put forward, and it's exciting to see this coming full circle. And we've really tried to simplify it because the other counties are really unsure. But we've got spreadsheets developed, so all they got to do is put their name in and fill in the blanks. And it really simplified this process, so it should be very successful for every county that wants to utilize it. And that's we're kind of counting on you guys to put the word out to those 5 counties, other county commissioners in those areas. It's like, there's the money there, the process is in place, just make sure your county's utilizing it.
And I really would like to, Public Health would like to thank the commissioners for the support to even come up with this process, because, Michelle and I have given some of our time and with support from the commissioners, so we really appreciate that. I know all 5 counties are really going to appreciate that.
Okay.
Just thank you for all that.
Thank you.
That's very good.
Appreciate it.
Outstanding. Thanks.
Any other questions on this for us?
Thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time,
Have a good
Pat. Take care.
Take care.
Cool.
Public health again.
I have a couple things for you. All right. So, make sure we're on the right one.
Yes, Steve.
Yep, there's 2 after, that's right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, the first one, this is the agreement. Sorry, I got some of these. So a few months ago, we had a vacancy in our Nurse Family Partnership Program, which provides home visiting to first-time moms and babies. We contracted with Todd County with their Nurse Family Partnership nurse to come and assist us while we had that vacancy. That sparked a discussion within our 3 counties of Morrison, Tawadena, and Cass County, who also participates in the Nurse Family Partnership, about future vacancies, how we can make the process easier for when we have, we only have 1 Nurse Family Partnership nurse within each county, and that's a very specialized program, and it requires a Nurse Family Partnership trained nurse to see those clients. So we came up with an agreement between, the first one is between the 4 counties, and it's specifically for the Nurse Family Partnership Program, and that is, talks about basically in the future, if we have a need, that it's easier for us to utilize each other's staff to fill that need for a very short-term basis. This was vetted through all the county attorneys and approved. So, any
Mr.
questions?
Chair, I'll move on that.
I'll second
We have
it.
a motion from Commissioner Jelinski and a second from Commissioner Wilson.
Nope.
Johnson.
Johnson.
I was gonna be third. He beat me to the punch.
Okay, any discussion, gentlemen?
Well, and Mr. Chair, that agreement, as far as binding and length, is, Brian, would you be able to speak to that? I mean, how long are we in for that? So it's just saying that.
I think it should say that.
was
I think it just,
30 days,
I think it's until it's canceled, or you can cancel within 30 days.
Okay.
I think it just goes from here on out until we decide to cancel it.
Okay.
We talked about that, I think, at our last
We did.
tri-county board meeting.
And I think we did as well, but I just wanted to
verifying.
clarify
Yeah,
that,
there you go.
because anytime we talk about anything that's joint powers, there can be.
Well, no, this is not,
No,
This
but
is-
even joint hiring
Shared
or
staff.
sharing,
Yeah.
and who decides who hires if there's a bunch of counties involved, and, you know, so what that process is, so just always concerned about that.
Any more discussion, gentlemen?
I'm just glad that we have a program like this so we can utilize staff in other areas when we don't need full-time. And
Yeah.
it's just a good program for the county, I think.
what this is, Mr. Chair, is simply, as far as I'm concerned, is working together.
Collaborate.
Good grief, working together when we're able to.
When we need to.
Any more discussion, gentlemen? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So the next agreement is virtually the same, except it takes out that Cass County, and it's between our Morrison, Todd, and Wadena Community Health Board counties. So this is just to talk about our public health in general. So for instance, if we would have our public health emergency preparedness coordinator out on a long leave, that this agreement will make it easier for us to utilize the other coordinators in the other two counties to make sure that we're getting all of our work done.
I need a motion,
I would so
gentlemen.
move on
I
that,
got a-
Mr. Chair.
I got a motion by Commissioner Johnson and a second by Commissioner Wilson. Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thanks,
The
Katie, for
next-
putting that together.
The next is, within the last year, the board had already approved an agreement between Morrison, Todd, and Wadena and Cass counties to execute the Nurse Family Partnership Program. Since then, Wadena and Cass County, who are part of, or who received the Maternal Infant Early Child Home Visiting Grant, have received a grant extension, so they've received more money. And has been awarded February 1st, 2016 through February 28th, 2017. So essentially, this is signing a new agreement saying that we're going to extend working with those 4 counties for the Nurse Family Partnership Program. And we also have updated our Nurse Family Partnership Reflective Supervisor position description and our Home Visitor position description, which was also included in the agreement.
Gentlemen, I need a motion.
So move.
Second.
And Mr. Wilson is the motion, Johnson is the second. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Katie, you said something, and I guess I wasn't clear on this the entire time that I've read it, is there was more money that came in to Cass County and Wadena County specifically?
Specifically, it's called a MICV grant, so it's that Maternal Infant Childhood Home Visiting.
Okay.
You have to have certain eligibility criteria to receive that grant.
Okay.
Those are the 2 counties out of our 4 that have those, that meet those criteria.
So that funding can be shared between Morrison and Todd also?
So how it
And
works,
Wadena?
within our Nurse Family Partnership Program is because Wadena and Cass County receive these, in essence, extra grant dollars, they actually solely pay for, we have an infant mental health specialist that meets with our home visitors, and they solely pay for that for the benefit of the 4 counties.
Oh, really? Very good.
Any more discussion, gentlemen? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, can I comment quickly? I just want to point out the fact that Katie and the Wadena County and the Todd County and the Cass County Public Health Directors are those that sit in those positions, really have taken great strides in really working together and really taking the point of having a CHB, a Community Health Board, and utilizing it much better. And I know Katie's talked to me about that a few times, and as administrators, we've talked about that. I don't know that we've fully appreciated or taken advantage of what it means to be a Community Health Board in the past, and I think we're thinking of those things a bit differently, and I appreciate the board supporting that, both the Community Health Board and then the individual boards, because what's the point of working together if we're not able to kind of cross those boundaries a bit easier or be more fluid, be more
Absolutely.
responsive, things of that nature, or specialized in terms of, these specialized positions are so tough with all of the turnover we have in these counties, and it's gonna continue to happen. The fact that we can pull from a bigger bank of people is benefit to all. So I appreciate the work that the public health directors have been doing, and then the boards and the CHB board in general to support that. I think it's good.
Well said, thank you.
All right.
All right, so the next is to approve public health to apply for it's called the STOP Act grant, which stands for the Sober Truth on Preventing Underage Drinking Act grant, with the Pierce Area Coalition. So we would apply as the fiscal host for that coalition. We currently are in year 5 of a drug-free communities grant in that district. We have applied for an extension drug-free communities grant of years 6 through 10. The STOP Act grant provides $50,000 per year for 4 years. That covers primarily staff time. How this grant came up was our evaluator for our drug-free communities grant and our grant overseer suggested to apply for this grant as in addition to the drug-free communities 6 through 10. In case we didn't receive the other grant, this could act as a placeholder to keep our coordinator in the Pierce district. The superintendent was very supportive of keeping our coordinator, Megan, in Pierce, continuing to work on these initiatives. So the deadline for this grant is very soon. We are going to apply for the $50,000 for years, for up to 4 years if we are approved to apply. And if we do happen, if there's that kind of slight chance that we receive, these grants are very competitive, but if there's a slight chance that we receive, if we apply for this and we apply for a 6 through 10 and we receive both, that's okay. We can use both grants and just reallocate some of the money for extra activities and extra things in the school.
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Mauer. I need a second
I'll
to
second
approve
it.
the Public Health Sober Truth Stop Act grant. I have a second from Mr. Jelinski. Any more discussion, gentlemen?
Mr. Chair, anything we can do to assist communities in addressing alcohol and drug use with our young people and our adults for that matter, I think is very positive. So thank you for your work on that.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Jelinski.
I looked at this and I believe we talked about this during planning. The PAC Coalition is currently in year 5 of 5. If we've supported action for 5 straight years, why would we not continue to support action? So I think it's a great thing.
Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And just one last quick approval of a 2016 seasonal establishment license for the Ridge Rib and Steakhouse in Little Falls.
So moved.
We
Second.
got a motion by Commissioner Mauer, seconded by Commissioner Johnson.
Where's this at?
Any more discussion?
Okay.
If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you,
That's
Commissioner.
That's it.
course.
All right.
course.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Here comes extension.
Naughty Ridge, Naughty Pine Ridge.
Good
Morning.
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 I brought with me a very special guest. This is
All
the
right.
newest addition to the Extension office, and I will let her introduce herself and talk a little bit to you first.
So I'm Carmen Gensky, and I just joined Morrison County Extension in March. And so I'm new to the county. I was in Todd County, and I worked there for 1 year. I worked with a bunch of schools, food shelves, community partners, hospitals, and now I look forward to doing the same here in Morrison County. I have already started working with a school district in Motley and Staples, and have made partners with St. Gabriel's Hospital and their Live Better, Live Longer program, also as well as a Sprout Food Hub that just went in the old Crestliner building. So I look forward to all the upcoming partners and projects I get to do with Extension in Morrison County.
Welcome to our
Thank
community.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Outstanding.
And good to have Carmen in the office. She's a wonderful addition. Just a couple of things I wanted to mention quick about what's going on in the 4-H program. Of course, you have your report, but we had some new things hot off the presses. I had 9 volunteers this last weekend attend a shooting sports and wildlife certification program in Mora, and that will fire up, literally, our shooting sports program here for the 4-H'ers in Morrison County, and I'm super excited about it. We've struggled for a few years with just having 1 or 2 volunteers, and so we have a big group. They're spread across the county, and they've been certified in air rifle and pistol, archery, shotgun, wildlife, a coordinator position, and muzzle loading. So we're going through equipment that we've had stored, and we're checking that all out, making sure it's ready to go, and then we'll be starting training soon. And then I also wanted to invite you all, if you're not busy, Safety Day Camp is coming up Thursday, May 12th, out at the fairgrounds, 9:30 to 2 o'clock. We'll have lots of the different educators and volunteers coming in to do livestock safety, lawnmower safety, entrapment, outdoor survival, sun safety, internet safety, chemical safety, environmental safety, water, and an I Spy Farm Hazards hunt. So you're all more than welcome to come and take a peek and see what's going on.
Rain or shine?
Yes, if it's really bad, can't hear anything in those tin buildings. So one year we lost the last session of the day because it was just a wrap, but hopefully it will be sunny. All right, if there aren't any questions, that's all I wanted to show.
Anything else?
So.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Emily.
How about an auditor's report?
Good morning, and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Mr. Chair. We are going to sneak in. Copy of the trails agreement. We didn't get a copy in your packet. This agreement goes through the Morrison County Recreational Trails Association, but we are the sponsor, and so we are the ones who have to apply for it officially, and then the funds flow through them. And so this is a copy of the agreement and the resolution that we need to pass in order for the funds to flow.
Mr. Chair, this has been an annual thing for as long as I know.
I'll second it.
Motion from Commissioner Wilson, second from Commissioner Johnson. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, recreational activities for the people in our community are so important. I mean, we just need these things for people to do in their time off. So, very supportive.
Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Zelinski.
this was just handed to me, and I'm just curious. Are we talking about four-wheelers, snowmobiles, bicycles, tricycles, walking, running? What are we talking about for
Little bit
these
of
trails? Does it include all of that?
Yeah, it really, this trail is pretty wide open, but mostly what we get on this trail is the four-wheelers and the snowmobiles.
Okay, very good, that's what I'm looking for. We're talking about the Sioux Line Trail.
I think horses go on there once in a while.
I think we do get some.
Every once in a while, there's a surprise on there, so.
Very good, that's,
I just want to thank everybody that's involved in that trail work, because that is a big part of our economy.
huge.
That comes in. I know when the trails aren't working, the establishments aren't as busy, so. I'd
Exactly.
like to thank whoever is involved in all these trails.
Any more discussion, gentlemen? If not, I have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. And then I believe we also have warrants.
All right, let's, I need a motion to.
Also move on the warrants, everything.
All right, I got a motion by
I'll
Commissioner
second it.
Johnson. I got a second by Commissioner Jelinski. This is a roll call vote. Commissioner Mauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson. Myself, aye. Motion carried.
I think that's everything I have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
Thanks, Deb, have a good day.
Public Works.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Steve.
get map here going, so we have some way of telling where we're at.
We really like maps.
Thank you, it's always good to know where you're at.
Yes.
Or where you're going to, right, Steve?
There you go.
Not where you're coming from, but where you're going.
We had a resolution relative to household hazardous waste and agreement with Crow Wing County that we want to have complete legal review before we ask for you to act on that, so I'm going to bring that back at the next board meeting.
Okay.
Very good.
We had a number of items in your packet. I think following that, the first one is the designation of stop conditions for County Road 222. That is just west of Little Falls and south of the Trunk Highway 27. We are proposing that we will make the east-west routes, 130th Street and 140th Street, tangent sections, the through routes, and then we will, at those intersections, the appropriate intersections, stop County Road 222. That is being done for safety reasons and also because of the existing 222, County Road 222 is under construction. We did not propose that we were going to regrade those segments because of the cost involved in the traffic volumes on that county road. So in order to accommodate properly controlling traffic, I'm proposing this because I believe this meets design standards in an appropriate way for us. And so by making those tangent sections the through routes and stopping County Road 222, we can comply with that aspect of it. And that's what these resolutions do.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion on that. We talked about that in planning for safety reasons, so.
Yep, hey,
I would second that.
I have a motion from Commissioner Johnson, second Commissioner Mauer.
Mr. Chair?
Any more discussion?
And we actually took a van right out there and
Yep.
looked at these
Yeah.
intersections to see the issues that are created by those curves on our road.
The curves
and
and that.
and the straights coming off of the township roads, so, real dangerous situation, so this hopefully will alleviate that, so.
Commissioner Jalinski.
So, Mr. Chair, I would just like to ask Steve, with this being something new, and obviously it's a change, and it's been a change, it's something that's been in place forever, so now it's a brand-new change. We're gonna have all kinds of blinking lights, signs that, look out, we have a new stop sign coming up here.
Initially, when the change occurs, there's ways that the manual on uniform traffic control devices tells us to make those changes.
Okay.
There will be a more advanced warning, there will be more warning at the intersection.
Beautiful.
But over time, then that'll
go away.
That goes away.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
any
you.
more discussion, gentlemen? Not, I have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, the next item is a request for the establishment of no parking restrictions or parking restrictions on our County State Aid Highway 54. That's down in the city of Royalton. We discussed the expansion that's taking place with the high school, how parking is taking place on County State Aid Highway 54, the fact that the school actually has enough parking to accommodate vehicles that currently are parking on 54, and the safety concerns with that parking, in that they're typically facing south when they come in the morning, at the end of the day after school. When they leave, they go down and at Second Avenue, or Second Street, I believe here, they'll do a U-turn and then come back to 26 so that they can head back home. Those type of maneuvers, I think we believe, are unsafe maneuvers, and they've been taking place for some time. Some of the residents along there, with the changes in the way garbage is collected and the way it's picked up, and the inability to get to that when collection comes through, and parking is uptight to the accesses to those residences, is an issue that we've continually have complaints about. The school district and the city both have supported restricting parking on our CSA 54. And so what we are proposing is that we would restrict parking from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. From that segment of 26 to 50 feet south of 2nd Street.
and that we would place the appropriate signing, and then following that, it would be subject to enforcement.
I need a motion and a second. Do I have a motion?
So move.
I got a motion by
Second.
Commissioner Wilson, a second by Commissioner Jelinski. Any more discussion?
Well, Mr. Chair, anytime you have people parking along a roadway and then walking out between cars or other people that are coming from there and crossing between cars out in the traffic, it's not a good situation. So not to mention the turning around and coming back, so you're creating twice the issue of flow. So, good deal.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Mr. Chair, Steve, I'm not questioning you, I'm just asking the question. Is 50 feet south of Second Street enough? Or I'm just asking because we're doing it. Do we want to do it tomorrow? Should it be 100 feet? You're the boss, I'm just asking.
Well, that is a good question, what the right and appropriate location is. We're basing it on how the school sits adjacent to the street.
Yep.
The fact that the street was constructed with parallel parking in mind. It was designed to handle parallel parking, and now we're eliminating it. And we didn't want to eliminate it any more than it needed to be.
Okay.
And so that's and that was where the turnaround was occurring, so we felt that was an appropriate location.
I just asked, that's all.
That brings up another point. I know there's if I may, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I know there's a gas station and convenience store going up on that corner, okay? Now, as time goes, and probably have to deal with that as it comes up, but will there be a concern with the people leaving that gas station and then coming down and interjecting the highway and creating a lot more traffic? I'm just...
On our 54?
Yes.
I think that could very easily occur because, northbound on Highway 10 to get out, that's a right turn maneuver. That isn't so bad. Maybe most of that'll go that way, but that left turn maneuver, if you have a lot of traffic on 10 during weekends or something, they may come up to the light. They may take 54 to 26 to the light in order to get onto the highway.
Thinking about that. Yeah.
So how that traffic will flow, I guess, will be something that we'll have to deal with as that occurs.
Okay, thank you.
I agree that can be an issue.
And one other point, this high school used to charge for parking in the parking lot, and that's what kind of started the students parking on the county road. Well, they don't charge anymore, and they're still parking there. And again, they have ample parking on the school property. So.
And Mr. Chair, who will then monitor if people are continuing to park where they always thought they were able to?
Law enforcement.
I believe most of it would be by the Royalton City Police.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have a number of requests by townships for assistance in engineering services for bridge replacements within their jurisdiction. The first one that asks for your consideration is between the townships of Lee and Granite. On a small segment, it's shown in orange between State Highway 27 and Arkansas 47. It's a relatively low volume, it's a very low volume piece of roadway that has a bridge crossing with the Skunk River. Because of the low volume of the roadway, MnDOT is not willing to approve it for any state or outside funding in the programs that they administer. So we've been in discussions with both townships because it is deteriorating to a point where something either has to be done to it and utilizing local funds, or we're going to have to close it. The townships Lee and Granite do not want to close it. They want to maintain that right of way. And so we are proposing that we would work with them kind of in a fashion where we can get their permitting done in the fastest fashion as we can, but also that the installation would be one that they would have to approve in terms of the design standards they're willing to meet and pay for. And we have some minimum standards that we would design to that are going to be less than what the state would require if there was any outside funds going to this. And so the agreement was in your packet. I also have the the same agreement for Granite. I believe that one was for Lee. It's the example of what we would be utilizing. And so what we're asking is that the board would enter into both agreements. There's a resolution authorizing the chairman and the administrator to sign these agreements, and that we'll enter into them to provide relatively minimum amount of engineering services to get these replaced, because the problem with them is we have a responsibility by statute to do the inspection, to do the reporting, and at some point in time, if they're not, if they deteriorate to a point where we believe they're unsafe, it's our responsibility, the county's responsibility, my responsibility to close the structure. Currently, it's a timber single span, you know, and it's sitting on some kind of makeshift abutments. That's part of the problem, undermining when under heavy flows. What we're proposing, and we met with them, we've talked to them a number of times, is that we would do a number of larger culvert pipe. They may be metal. We're going to make a cost comparison on whether on whether it would be better at this point in time to do just larger concrete precast boxes and not go that metal the metal route. I think they felt that was going to be cheaper and get them down the road where they know what they were going to do with the road maybe in 20 or 30 years. And so we'll see how the costs compare. Even the metal pipe is expensive, especially when you're trying to provide enough structural support, and that under high flows it doesn't wash out.
And there's more structural support in a concrete structure than there is.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Jazinski.
Steve, I understand the motion and all this, but the part that I guess I'm a little unclear of is they can't secure funding to actually do the work? I understand what you're doing, I got that part, but
It's a minimum maintenance road.
Yep.
And so when we make application and we try to do these turnkey projects, we make an application to MnDOT, and they make a review and determine whether they're gonna, say, use bonding money that may be for local bridge replacements, or even town bridge money has to be approved by the state before we can utilize it for these replacements. And because of these low volumes and the belief that they could be closed, they're unwilling to provide resources through them.
So, you're gonna do the work of engineering it?
Yes.
Are they going to?
Yes.
Themselves through the townships?
Yes.
They're gonna fund it?
Yes.
Got it.
He said yes before the question came on.
He knew what I was gonna ask.
You're going right down
He knew what I was asking.
Steve, my question is, when you say it's deteriorating so fast, now again, it's not gonna fail tomorrow, it's not gonna fail next week, but is there gonna be a timeline on this? Let's say they can't come up with the funding.
We've met with them, and they're prepared to do this next year with us. That's the time schedule we're on. And both of them, in entering into this agreement, are actually agreeing that they're willing to pay their share of it.
Okay.
Because we're gonna move it all the way through to a construction project.
Okay, gentlemen, any more discussion? I have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We also have a similar situation down in Lakin Township. Is another one of the orange dots on your map. Almost identical situation in which we have a timber structure spanning a Tibbetts Brook that is very low volume, but does provide access for a number of different parcels of property for under a number of different ownerships. And we've met with the township because the same kind of things are occurring on this one. They've been on the system for a long time. Their sufficiency ratings, their structural ratings are very low. And they have decided that they wish to move this one forward to a replacement under the same type of situation. And so we're requesting, now, we're pushing this one kind of because we want to tie it to the letting that we have coming up. And the township is acting on their agreement at their April meeting. And so I'm asking the board to enter into this agreement also concurrently when we receive their signed agreements, and we'll bring it forward for the chairman and the administrator to sign. But we're asking that you'd adopt the resolution authorizing them to sign the agreement when we receive their signed
I need
copy.
a motion and a second.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Wilson, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
And the last is another engineering agreement for Scandia Valley Township to provide engineering services for the development of a project on Lakeview Drive. That's the orange spot up between Fish Trap and Lake Alexander. Commissioner Mauer and I met with the town board. They have had this on their radar for quite some time. This is a non-eligible structure, but is a project that they need some help and support in obtaining the permits. What they're intending to do is stabilize existing retaining walls that are in the channel that connects the two lakes. And then also we're dealing with the culvert crossing itself. It's a large 72-inch round culvert structure. We're intending, and the township is wishing for us to do a liner on this because it's a dead-end road that has like 100 homes, nearly 100 homes, lots back, after you do the crossing that doesn't have any other access. And so our proposal is that instead of replacing this structure, we would line it and go through that process so that we can maintain traffic, and we wouldn't cut that number of people off for several days while the project was taking place. And so that's what our engineering agreement would reflect. The township had to have signed off on it. It got to me yesterday. That's why it wasn't in your packet, but I do have signed agreements, and would ask that you to adopt a resolution authorizing the chairman and the administrator to sign these agreements, and then we will provide engineering services for them to accomplish that.
So moved. I got a motion by Commissioner Mauer. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Johnson. Any more discussion?
Well, Mr. Chair, when this was redone back whenever, Steve, I don't know how many years that was, a lot of treated poles were put all the way in along, and this was built up. So, I mean, it really needs to be addressed more appropriate, and I think you're talking about putting granite riprap all along and to build up the whole thing and then line the culvert, so.
Yes. Properly slope it. We'll line it and extend the culvert so that we can get some shoulder at that location because it's very narrow. Get a little better ride over the culvert because it's had some movement in it that's affect the rideability. Those will be the things that we'll be putting together with this plan.
Any more discussion?
And Mr. Chair, that includes all of the work Steve needs to do regarding permitting through the Army Corps and the DNR and Soil and Water, so there's a whole lot to it, so.
Anything else? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Oh, this is a new item that the district state aid engineer raised with me yesterday. During the construction of the Sioux Line Trail from Trunk Highway 10 to Stearns County, we had received what was known as high priority funds. It was monies that were specifically set aside in the federal highway bill for that project. We received that through Congressman Oberstar. That was something that was put in there at that point in time. We constructed that project, and when it was completed, there was a little over $18,000 in federal funds that was in the federal highway bill that we didn't utilize because the eligibility of what we had done out there didn't use all of the money that was available. So there's $18,000, a little over $18,000 left. And when they adopted the previous federal highway bill, they didn't determine how those funds would be spent. Well, now with the new federal highway bill, they are allowing what they're calling repurposing, where you can take these HPP dollars and you can apply them to another project if you have one in your county, or it would go to the region, would be next, and then to the district to find projects that these funds can be spent on. In reviewing what we have available for a federal project in which this $18,000 would be available for, the only one that comes forward is the Safe Routes to School program in the city of Royalton. They're in line to receive, I believe, about $80,000 in federal funds or somewhere in that vicinity. And they're underfunded for the project. And so what I would like to do, I'd like the board's approval that we move this forward to keep these funds within our county, and we would work towards those dollars going to the city of Royalton for their safe routes to school, because it's the only project that's eligible.
Mr. Chair?
Before that, I'd like to have a motion.
Well, Mr. Chair, I would like a question before the motion, if I could.
All right.
Okay, the question I have is, you know, we just repaired the pillars on the bridge that goes over the Mississippi on the Sioux Line Trail. Okay, that wouldn't be something that's eligible?
No.
Okay,
It has to be a project that's currently in the
Oh,
state
currently. Okay, well,
transportation
just wanted to
improvement.
clarify.
Yeah, so it's not ineligible.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I got a motion from Commissioner Jelinski, and I got a second from Commissioner Wilson. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, roll call when you're ready.
Yeah, and the question I have is that Safe Roads is not gonna be started till next year. Is that okay? It'll sit there?
That's why it becomes an eligible project. It has to be in the surface transportation program, and it's in the right time frame for these dollars having to be spent. So that's why, yes, it fits the bill here.
All right, this is a roll call vote. I do have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, and I think it's good that Steve found a project in which we can use that money locally. That's why I asked about we just put all that money into the bridge, well.
And I evaluated everything
Oh,
that
no, I'm sure you did, but I was just gonna ask,
Sure.
but no, keeping it local is so important, so.
All right, any more discussion? If not, roll call vote. Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson. Commissioner Mauer.
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion carried.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, at the last planning meeting, we had talked a little bit about a pickup broom. Currently, in the spring of the year, we, after application of snow and ice control materials, there's a lot of materials that are left at intersections, curb and gutter sections within our small communities. Also, organic matter from fall with leaves and grass cuttings, those type of things where we have storm sewer that get caught up in the curb and gutter, also into the catch basins and the inlets. We've cleaned that up in a number of ways in the past, all the way from using sentence to serve to sweep it by hand with brooms, and then we use a skid steer to pick it up. We've got a sweeper that we'll sweep it into the gutter, and then we try to pick it up with the skid steer, and not very efficient methods. And as this goes on, this type of activity is showing to be really pretty positive in keeping materials out of water. When you have heavy rain events, that's all picked up, it gets into the storm sewers, discharged to the rivers. And so there's a short window, not a big window, in which we are trying to do that cleanup within our small communities, and even in the city of Little Falls, which we have curb and gutter on 4th Street and 5th Avenue. We have a number of them that are under our jurisdiction. We currently utilize the city of Little Falls and contract with them, and so there's a cost that we're incurring for that to happen within Little Falls. But we're asking the board, with the favorable bids that we received, there is some revenues left, that if we were able to come up with a good used piece of equipment, a pickup room, that the board would allow us to take that next and make that necessary purchase. We need to have some flexibility, because just like the motor grader, they come up and you have just a short window sometimes in which you have to make a decision to purchase. If the price is right, you got a good piece of equipment, they're in demand, they go relatively quickly, and by the time we go through the whole process, it's usually gone.
Mr. Chair, question?
Commissioner Mauer.
My question, Steve, would be, we are now contracting with someone to do this, are we not?
We're doing it in a number of ways. We contracted this spring, but we also utilized some of our own equipment like I talked about.
Right.
And then also with the city of Little Falls. So we have kind of three different things that are going.
So what would you say it's costing us now with the contracts that we're doing annually?
I would, we just, we're conducting some of the work in repayment to the city of Little Falls. We're doing some exchanges for gravel and that type of thing for the work that they're doing. I've got to believe, I think that the rental that we did with the outside contractor was in the $4,000 range, $3,000 to $4,000 range. I would say probably, if you put it all together and all the labor and everything, around $8,000 to $10,000 a year.
Annually, and the machine you're looking at would be roughly?
I would say between 50 and 60,000 for a good used one is where we probably would be at.
Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair. Steve, I understand spring of the year is when you utilize this equipment probably the most.
Yes.
But would you also utilize this equipment in the fall of the year? Perhaps, I'm just asking, or after a storm? Any of the above, I mean, would you, or is it just pretty much tied in your mind, I'm just asking, to spring of the year is when we want to do this, and if we have our own, we don't have to get in line for somebody else while we have all the salt and the debris going down the drain, we can actually get out there and get on the job to get it, to do it. So are we looking at other than spring, or is this pretty much a predominant spring activity?
It is I think for us, would be a predominantly spring activity.
Okay.
But some of the cities that are have multiple systems in which they have to try to meet their water quality requirements, they're sweeping their streets 4 and 5 times a year. It's just a continual operation that, picking up whatever is on the street and in the gutter so that it doesn't end up into the water system. So, and a lot of the study and work that they've done with that has reflected there's a real positive benefit in water quality from doing that. And so, from my perspective, the bulk of it in our situation would be in the spring, but I think that we would more than likely expand, especially in the fall where we're trying to get that organic matter that's fallen and laying in the curbs and gutter before it gets into the drainage system. So I think that there is certainly other times of the year that we'll use it. Okay.
Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd recommend a not to exceed amount, probably in a motion, if we can, if you have an upward end of that, just to throw out so we have something.
Well, and with that being said, I would also ask the question, do we have that money in the coffers right now?
With the favorable bids that we've already received, we will have those funds available because of the fact that our bids came in so much lower than we had anticipated.
So we really don't need, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Johnson.
I have one question for Steve. If we get one, I know in Swanville today, they've got Aztec doing theirs, the cities. I mean, is it possible that maybe if you had it, that cities could, you could do it for cities too, contract with cities? Or?
We always I think that we always try very much to support and help the small cities. It may be that it might be too much because it just depends on how much curb and gutter they may have and how much they want swept. But when we're in a community and sometimes to finish off a day or something like that they have work for us to do, we'd be right there to help them with that.
I know Aztec is there today and they spend a good day there, 10, 12 hours.
And on some of our projects, our road construction projects, where you get a lot of, where they may be coming off of gravel pits onto the road and you get a lot of material being drug onto the road, we always struggle to get those contractors in there to clean those up. It may be something that we will have to, we'll do as a part of our role in it and bill them back so that we can meet our permit requirements because some of those are always on the edge.
Sure. Commissioner Wilson.
Do we need a price to exceed if you've already got bids on some? Or?
No, Mr. Chair, the bids he was referring to as the road project bids and the estimated cost
I thought you
is
had
less.
bids on the equipment already.
Nope, what tends to happen here is you might get a municipality that's moving out a pretty decent piece of equipment because they're replacing it, and it's only on the market for a few, 3-4 days.
Yeah.
So, and Steve, your recommendation on a not to exceed?
If we could use 60,000, we wouldn't exceed that.
Any more discussion, gentlemen?
Just one more question, is that enough to get a good machine?
I think so.
Okay, just one, because if there's one for 70 and it's very low miles, I just want to be sure you have enough flexibility.
I think so, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, in my, you don't wanna buy junk.
No, that's exactly what, something that's gonna last.
Yeah.
Because then that'll last as long as, then you gotta be coming to us again in a couple days or years, so. All right, gentlemen, any more discussion? I believe this will be a roll call. We'll start with Commissioner Johnson.
Motion?
Oh,
I was gonna say,
we have a motion and a second, but it had with the limitation, or with the ceiling.
Who made the motion?
No.
Give me a
No, there
motion.
isn't.
Nobody motion.
There is.
I'll make the
You're the
motion.
one that got me on that one.
Okay. I won't make the motion.
All right, I got a motion from Commissioner Mauer. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, I got a second from Commissioner Johnson. Now, this would be with a ceiling of $60,000, not to exceed $60,000 on a street sweeper, or whatever they call them.
And I would like to add something to that, if I may.
You go right ahead,
That
Commissioner Mauer.
if it is to exceed 60,000 and Steve finds one that's a little more than that he just comes back to the board and lets us know. Or
Might
gets
be
in
too
touch
late,
with us.
though.
Well, what's a little bit?
Yeah.
I
So
think,
what's
yeah.
a little bit?
I think Commissioner
62,
Mauer, if you'd like to make
89,
one more than that, or I think we should either leave it at 60, or if you want to make a request after this motion, you're more than welcome to.
We can leave it at 60, I guess I just
Okay.
wanted to be sure you have enough
Right.
flexibility.
And that was the point, Commissioner Mauer, because if we would say he comes back, well, let's say he sees it tomorrow, now he's gotta wait 2 weeks to come back to the board.
I know.
By that time, it's gone.
I appreciate that because we're trying to do the best for the county, and I do believe that some of what we've seen in the past, that
Okay.
we will be able
Sounds good, I'll
to
stay with
meet
that
that.
motion, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Wilson, did you have a question? No. All right. So now I do have a motion, and I have a second for the purchase of a street sweeper not to exceed $60,000. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, and I think as Steve has talked, with environmental concerns and water quality issues today, when you look at grants, this kind of stuff is very important to show how we are in advance of a lot of the requirements doing some of this stuff. That's very important, and you know that, Steve, so, thank you.
Any more discussion? This will
And
be a
that is
roll call?
That
Yep.
is coming out of Steve's budget. So
Yeah,
it's-
and because of the fact
Yep.
that
Yep.
he came in so much under the,
Right.
all the
Yep.
road work, that there's money there too. And again, it's something nice that, again, it'll probably last many, many years, you know, so.
And I agree, I really want to be proactive on this. It is a mentality and an ethic that we have to adopt if we want to really maintain our water quality.
Absolutely.
And that's becoming more and more, part of our society, is the clean water, all this stuff, so again. this
Every
would-
day it's more
Yeah.
important.
Starts at home.
So again, any more discussion, gentlemen? I have a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote. Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Commissioner Mauer,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski,
Aye.
myself, aye. Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Then finally, could we set up a Public Works Planning meeting for the end of May sometime?
End of May?
I'll be gone the 26th and the 27th.
How about the 30th, on Monday? That's about as end as we can get.
Mr. Chair, that's Memorial Day.
Yeah,
That's
That
unless
is.
unless, Commissioner, you want to come in.
How about the 23rd?
You might not have a quorum then.
How about the 23rd? We got planning and zoning that evening.
It's up to you. It looks good to me.
23rd at 8:30?
Public Works, 8:30? That do it?
Very good.
Steve,
All right.
8:30
I
on
have one
May.
question for Steve. I've got a few phone calls on dead deer and people wanting signs. And I asked you that one time before, and your statement was that you don't put out signs anymore because they're not that effective. Is that still the fact?
Yes.
Okay.
There was at one point in time, a lot of things that were being looked at, all the way from the whistles on your vehicle, to the, if you recall, the delineator lights along certain segments where they were trying to take the headlights of vehicles and shine it into the ditches so the deer didn't cross. Those all have come back that they're very ineffective, and you put those signs up, deer crossing for 20 miles, well, I don't, MnDOT doesn't install them anymore, and we haven't for a number of years.
Just wanted to ask.
Sure.
I got a call on it. So.
Yeah, be more observant, I guess, huh?
That's all I have, Mr.
Thank you,
Chair.
Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks very much.
I guess we're administrator, and you have a couple things on the agenda.
I do, Mr. Chair. There's a few things that were added since your board packet was sent out on Friday, and those should be in print in front of you. First is that, for consideration of appointing Bill Black to the HRA board representing District 5.
I would so move on that, Mr. Chair.
I got a motion from Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Mauer. Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Right, and the second is regarding the Community Corrections Advisory Board. Again, the joint powers that we belong to with Crow Wing County and Aiken County is dissolving, and that is effective July 1st. When we adopted the resolution to move to a Seoul County Community Corrections delivery, we adopted the structure of the advisory board, if you recall. Those representatives that are defined in statute as to who they need to be, what sectors they need to represent. So you adopted that and we approved that. We need to now fill in those blanks in terms of who it is that's sitting on those, or sitting in those positions for the advisory board. We have Nicole here to help and answer questions if you have any. But essentially, my understanding is that those that can be identified, there's a few to be determined folks in here yet, just as a result of pure logistics, in that we don't have current community corrections employees technically that are sole Morrison County employees. So we'll wait until that happens to officially identify those. But otherwise, my understanding is that you've spoken to these individuals and they have identified willingness to serve.
Absolutely.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, those blanks, Deborah, those blanks are what? Fill in
Like
the
the
blanks.
vacant due.
Who?
Yeah.
Who would, do they come with a title? Do they, I forgot.
The probation corrections agent, for example, is the agent to be determined because we technically.
Maybe I should just look.
Oh, okay. I don't know what to say.
All right, gentlemen, I need
Excuse me.
a motion to appoint a representative of the Community Corrections Advisory Board.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Mauer,
I'll second.
second from Commissioner Wilson. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, my question would be, who determines who those people are?
Well, that's what we talked about. Nicole's advice was taken in that, in terms of who either by default makes sense, because there's not a lot of county administrators, I guess that's why I was picked, or
Well,
the attorney and things of that
Commissioner
nature.
Johnson was on the.
other one.
Commissioner-
No, I'm just, no, that's fine,
Yep.
I'm just wondering.
Commissioner Johnson expressed interest previously,
Yep,
and we
that's
talked about
great.
that, and I guess otherwise, Nicole, how were
So
you?
if someone leaves, is what I'm saying, who determines who fills those positions? Does that come back to the county board? Is it determined by that group of people there? Is it just someone that's picked out of the?
Good question.
Typically, it would be waiting until that vacant position, or if someone announces that they're no longer going to be a part of it. The advisory board would take recommendations and make a recommendation, which would then come to this board
Okay,
to be
I'm
appointed.
Just curious, okay, very good,
All
thank you.
appointments are approved by the county board. This isn't one in which is similar to other advisory boards and where they're district representatives.
Right.
Their specialty in terms of their backgrounds. So the board or the advisory board currently looks at that.
And if I could, we were very fortunate that we had several sitting members on the advisory board for CMCC that I was able to keep on this board, including Brian, Stephanie from Hands of Hope. And so we do have that piece that is nice, a piece of history to kind of go forward with. Obviously, and Commissioner Johnson, sorry.
A lot of history.
But, so we're able to bring that forward and continue it, so that's a benefit to us.
Any more discussion, gentlemen? If not, I need a motion, well, we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nicole. Anything else, Deb?
All right, Mr. Chair, I have 2 leases for approval. I was able to work with, and thanks to Brian, with the 2 parties that are currently or have been farming. The 2 parcels that we own near the Sioux Line Trail, kind of down by north of Royalton there. And so that has been approved by those 2 folks. The leases were drawn up. I spoke with them. They have signed it, and payment awaiting your approval for those 2 parcels of property. What we did was formalize the process, or the practice that's been occurring, and buy us some time for what we want to do moving forward long-term with the 2 parcels that are there. Whether we retain ownership, whether we look to sell them, whether we permanently lease them, what it is we want to do. But we wanted to have some time for that. But in preparation for this upcoming growing season that's fast approaching, we wanted to put this arrangement in place to formally recognize what's going on and then move forward with additional thoughts and discussion as the year progresses.
And Commissioner, Brad, you've looked at these, Brian, you've looked at these.
I drafted them,
them.
Commissioner, so I think they're good to go. I don't do too many farm lease agreements.
Just till the end of the year, I see. Okay.
Anyway, I need a motion. I wonder if we should do each one separately?
Together is fine.
Okay, so I need a motion, and then this is, again, just to make everybody clarify, this does not mean that we agree or disagree. This is rules of Roberts. That's why we do a motion in a second. So I need a motion to.
So moved.
I got that from Commissioner Jelinski. I need a second.
I'll second it.
I got a second from Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I was out and walked the north part of it. The other one's pretty level, but the north part, the one with the 2 different landowners that were with some issues. But anyways, there's some significant low area in the south end of that piece of property. And my concern is has Soil and Helen and Water, has Helen and Soil and Water or Soil and Water looked at that parcel? Because if we're gonna lease it, and he's filling a wetland, if it is indeed a wetland, that would concern me if it's the county property. I really think that needs to be checked out, because there's some very low area in the center of that.
You're talking the north side of the Sioux Line, correct?
The north side, no, the south side of the Sioux Line.
South side.
South side of the Sioux
Okay.
Line. I walked that yesterday in the rain, and it's significantly low. I'm talking 4 or 5 feet in that lowland basin there.
Well, Mr. Chair, his intent is to farm it, not to fill it, that I understand.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
I can't be filling our.
No, but
he
to
cut
answer
the trees all the way
to
up to
answer
that.
Commissioner Mauer's question is he has to go through the Soil and Water to get approval to go in there to with the trees and that sort.
Well, trees are gone, because he already
She has
took
a
them all
question
out.
for you.
Okay. Oh, okay.
When you get done.
But he has to get some approval through Soil and Water, because keep in mind, his side is probably lower than our side is.
I think it probably
Yeah,
is, so
and that's
I
where he
just,
needs approval on that one. And again, they said more than likely it would go through, but whether it has yet or not, I don't know. But he has to go through Soil and Water.
so that's what my concern is,
Right.
if we
Yep.
lease some property in which someone who's farming it does what
Oh,
they
yeah,
want
they're
with
on
it,
top
and
of
then
that one.
there's a wetlands issue.
Question?
I just have one concern, being a neighbor and lived on that road for 40 years now. And nothing against the lease, but where those trees have been removed, if that is part of the county's land, who's gonna be responsible for the old dump that's under those trees? That's an old township dump there.
Someone mentioned that to me just the other
I
day.
heard that too.
When we moved there, that's where all the garbage in Bellevue Township went.
And again, what we did on this here one, because there's a few challenges, and that's why we did this 1-year lease, and then we'll address this come this winter, whether they can continue leasing it, whether we sell it, we keep it. Those are all the things that we'll address at that time. This, like Deb said, reason we're doing this is just to kind of put a Band-Aid on it to let them get through the farming season, and then those issues like you have will be brought up.
That's the only thing. I don't have any
Yep.
problem with the leasing itself.
Yep.
It's just, that was my concern. was
Yeah, no, and
that
I've
old
heard
dump.
that too before that too, so.
Someone told me that just
Yeah.
last week.
Mr. Chair, Brian, if you refer to the lease in the indemnify and hold harmless, it does refer to the fact that governmental agency and political subdivisions, if there's requirements that the leasing needs to follow those. So I assume that addresses some of what you're talking about in terms of it. It's not that they can do whatever they want, they still have rules and whatnot, but they have to follow in the performance of that farm function. Am I right?
That's correct. I added a provision that they need to follow all state, federal, and local laws. And so they would need to abide by that.
And unfortunately, this is not probably the only property that'll ever be on the sewer line. I think we probably got a few more.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, like we've talked about, this stuff happens with ownership and with land ownership and legal descriptions and things like that, where things occur or people assume property lines are one place, and all of a sudden you learn by mere, a transaction occurs and it's surveyed and it's brought up, and what you thought was in existence is no longer, or wasn't in existence in writing and on deeds and stuff. So this came to our attention. We want to take a good long look at that and not be quick to make long-term decisions. And so given these parcels have been farmed and have been used in this matter for how long, the 1-year lease at this point in time allows us some opportunity to further discuss it about what we want to do long-term and address some of those other
And
concerns.
another question may have come up, and Deb can help us out. How was this rate determined?
This was based on county-wide lease rates that we got from the extension office. And this is a little under what the county average rate was based on the type of soil that's out there.
All right, thank you.
So my question would be, do we need to put something in the agreement? And I know it says to follow state and local, but that Helen sign off on it, or Soil and Water sign off on it, that it isn't indeed a wetland, if he's planning on irrigating it?
Excuse me, but I don't see how he could have done any of this stuff unless he's already gone through that. Because he's farmed this land, this is a new piece, and that would have to go under that jurisdiction with Helen and them. I mean, right now, he's just gonna farm it. He's not filling it, he's not doing anything to it.
You said it's a new piece though, and see.
New piece to him.
Right, but there is a wetland where you cut the trees all around it.
See, it's not determined as wetland. It was
Or a
something-
low area,
something
whatever,
lower,
but
right,
see,
yeah.
that needs to be
Yeah.
determined.
And
That's
he
the
is, and
whole-
I say, I know that Helen, this was addressed, that he has to have them sign off on something like that. And again, I'm not for sure 100% what it's called, but yeah, he has to do, I don't know, I'm lost for words on that one, but there is some kind of assessment that they do on that.
It'd be no different if we leased a piece of ground for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to do something on it, they gotta go through the proper channels to be
Yeah.
able to do whatever
Yeah.
they're gonna do.
Yeah.
And that's what the lease
Right.
currently identifies. Without
Yeah.
calling out a specific agency, it encompasses all agencies that may impose regulations.
Sure. And we get to deal with this sometime in the fall, late fall again, winter.
After New Year's,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah. Any more discussion, gentlemen? If not, I have a motion and I have a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, Mr. Chair. That was all the formal action I have. Just a quick update that I am continuing to work
Thanks, Brian.
with our agent who does our health insurance. As you know, the employee health insurance arrangement that we have, the current contract is probably the right word, ends for 2016. So we're looking at going out, we've been in the process of going out for a request for proposal on what to do with that. We did talk a little bit a while ago about the option of self-funding and to look at that with that Logis group. When we got the bids back for that buying group, the self-funding wasn't favorable, so we will look at fully insured options moving forward. We will get quotes back for fully insured with the big group, we will get quotes back fully insured individually. So we're still working on getting all of that information back. The initial information that I saw isn't as hard to stomach as what I was thinking it was going to be, so I'm hoping for some positive results that at least aren't more expensive at the outset as what we have now. Insurance is a goofy business, we've talked about
And
that
we had
a
a
lot.
3-year agreement? Is that
There's actually
right?
5 years of
years.
rate
Right,
guarantees that
okay.
were there. It does look at, and that was very unusual at that time
Right.
to have 5 years of rate guarantees. It was very nice to have predictable rate guarantees, even though they were, of course, increases that occur based upon our experience. They were predictable, and in taxing authorities, predictable is always nice to have in terms of you understand and know what's coming up, because it's hard to respond quickly to those things. I do see that world of rate caps continuing. It looks as if they're open to those ideas, they being the insurance companies. So we'll see what kind of predictability we can get. But of course, it has to be reasonable and it has to be something that we can fit in. So we'll take a look at that and see where we're at. But interested to work through that process in the next couple of months. And the communication out to our insurance committee group and you folks will be happening as soon as I get the information that's reliable in terms of what our actual proposals are. And we'll meet with that group and then we'll have to negotiate those memorandums with bargaining units. Kevin, did you have Commissioner Mauer?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay.
Will you be looking at NJPA's insurance?
Yeah, we're looking at all, we put it out for bid in terms of where they're at, but yes, that was something I brought to the attention of our insurance.
Because I haven't seen nothing cheap about insurance.
No, it is, it's so
There's
hard.
nothing
It's
cheap
so
about
hard.
it.
Cheap, but then you have a
Yeah.
$10,000 deductible.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
It's a big package, it's a big, and philosophical approaches to insurance and benefits and organizations differ greatly. So it's so hard, and it's so difficult, and I talk to so many employees again and again about, well, if you look to another agency, they've got less expense than what we do at, why can't we do that here? Well, there's so much more involved in how that organization has compensated employees and what their whole packages are, what the history is of use, what their approaches to that. So it differs from organization to organization. We're doing what we can to try to make it as affordable as possible, but no, it's a business that just is tough and insurance is expensive. So working through that, more to come on that whole topic. Anything else for me?
No?
All right.
I think we should start with our,
calendar?
yeah, let's start with Commissioner Wilson.
No problem. Do you want the ones that are already on here? Or just-
Tabitha, what
Whatever you'd
days
like.
would you want us to go give you? Days would be
Yep, May 1st
Second.
through the 14th.
First through the 14th.
May 1st through the 14th.
Okay, on May 3rd, we've got a planning session at 8:30. Got a Board of Adjustments at 7 o'clock that night. On May 6th, I've got TSWAC, the landfill. May 9th, got the City of Little Falls, that's our joint meeting, I think, at 5:30. May 10th, we've got a county board meeting at 9 o'clock. May 11th, we've got a department head meeting at 8:30. And at 11:30 to 1, we got a public health annual meeting in Wadena at
Pizza Ranch.
At 11:30, yeah.
Yep.
And now on the 12th, there's Safety Day
Yep.
at the fairgrounds.
Yep.
And how far do you want me to go?
14th.
Okay,
Yep.
I'm done.
Okay, Commissioner Mauer.
Violence Prevention Council Health Fair over at the high school at 9:30 on Monday the 2nd. Let's see here, we got those.
Are you keeping up?
TSWAC at the landfill at 8:30 on Friday morning, the 6th. 5:30 over at City Hall with the meeting with the city council.
Yeah, we got that.
On the 10th at 1 o'clock, that we didn't include as budget.
Yeah.
Budget at 1.
Yes.
Budget at 1 on the
Yes.
And, let's see here, Tri-County Health, I have ACUB at Camp Ripley at 9:30 on the 12th in the morning. And then 5:30 in the afternoon, at Fort Ripley would be the Trails, State Veterans Trail Committee at 5:30.
What day is
on
that?
The 12th. That should be it for me.
How you doing?
Good.
All right.
Good.
Commissioner Jelinski.
On the 2nd, there's a community health fair at the middle school that starts at 10 in the morning. I didn't think it was 9:30, but it might be. It goes till 6. I'll be staffing a booth from noon till 2 at that community health fair, I think with Stand Up For You. At 5:30 that afternoon, I've got an extension committee meeting, and I think that extension committee meeting is at the Crestliner building.
Correct, sir.
It's at Sprout.
Yep.
Which is it?
That's the extension. Jeff and I are on that board.
On Tuesday, did we already say the planning meeting? I missed it?
Yep.
8:30, all right. 12 o'clock, I'm gonna have pork chops at Public Works. On Wednesday, the 4th, I've got Armor, ARMER. That's an executive committee meeting in St. Cloud at 11 o'clock. For the sake of argument, that is the Little Falls Day of Caring. At 5 o'clock on the 4th, we've got Hands of Hope here in Morrison County. I think it's in meeting room 2, maybe, might be 3, I can't remember. On the 5th, at 10 o'clock in the morning, I've got an Armor legislative call, conference call at 10 o'clock. And Friday, we've got T-SWAC, and that's good with me. You don't care about
9th through the 14th, though. You need that one,
the
too.
14th?
You missed a week.
Yep, I missed a week, sorry. Got that. On Wednesday, the 11th, at 4:15, I've got a Town 101 meeting, Quality of Life at the Little Falls Library. And on the 12th, I will not be able to make ACUB, I will not be able to make the 4-H Safety Day, because at 10 o'clock in the morning, I've got an EMS Joint Powers Board meeting in Stearns County where they're gonna have all of the boards in that Joint Powers group meet in St. Cloud at the Service Center, Stearns County Service Center. And then on the 13th, and I do not believe that I'm gonna be able to be there, but at 10 o'clock on the 13th is a RAC meeting, an Armor RAC meeting in Meeker County. And that is all for me.
Commissioner Johnson.
I've got on the 5th, South Country Health Meeting, 9 o'clock in Owatonna. And on the 11th, where we have the 3-county, the annual meeting of the Tri-County Health Board, 11:30 to 1, Mike and I might have, if we're gonna have an executive meeting, it's gonna be before, if they decide. We're not sure yet. So that's all for me.
Okay, and then myself, everything is good except on the 14th, you guys, it's a Saturday. They're having an honor for Art and Jan Warner.
At 2 o'clock.
At,
I do have that.
For at Weyerhauser Museum from 2 to 4.
Historical Society.
But I didn't have that much. Yeah, I've got that too.
Anything
Thank
else?
you. Writing those down when we take your information really helps a lot, so getting that from you written, thank you very much.
Did you hand mine in? So, what would be easier for you, Tabitha?
I need a
have
motion
these
to
turned
adjourn.
in right
So moved.
away?
Got a motion by Commissioner
The end.
Johnson
At
to
the end?
adjourn.
Okay.
Got a motion for a moment?
By Commissioner